I don't like long solutions.
Go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. As welcome this morning. If you would stand with me for the pledge. Take this, go off.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God.
Good morning, all. Welcome to the 25-26 school year and our first official board meeting of the year. Hoping everyone has had a great start to their school year. All activities are up and running. It's been fun. Some wins, some losses, as we all go through that. And we are going to start this morning. We're going to do introductions of both our staff and our board members. So I'm going to start top left corner, and we're going to go counterclockwise, please.
Chris Burkhart, Associate Director, OSAA.
Melissa Kennedy, Associate Director, OSAA.
Missy Smith, Assistant Executive Director, OSAA.
Matt Comby, Morrow County School District Superintendent, and the two other representatives. Bill St. Dallas High School, they go to OSAA rep.
Kelly Foster, Assistant Executive Director with the OSAA.
Larry Ramirez, Director of High Schools for Singham Kaiser, represents 6A5A.
David Isline, Executive Director of Schools, Hillsborough, representing students.
Jennifer Vista, Superintendent, Central School District, representing 5A.
Good morning, Peter Weber, Executive Director, OSAA.
Jamie Youngman, Director of Human Resources, Clement County School District, representing 4A, 3A.
Marshall Hoskins, Senior Director, Operations for the Public, representing diversity, equity, and inclusion.
I'm Matt Shorb, I'm Superintendent at Eddyville Charter School, the 1A representative.
And Maria Lopez, Executive Athletic Director at St. Mary's Academy, and I'm representing the Oregon Athletic Directors Association.
Paul Derek, Superintendent in Beaverton School District, representing 6A.
Kurt Scholl, Superintendent in Sister School District, representing 3A.
George Mendoza, the Grand School District Superintendent, representing 4A.
Debbie Hanson, Associate Executive Director with the Oregon Officials Association, representing the OSAA.
Chris Welch with the staff.
Lauren Brownrigg, Assistant Executive Director with the OSAA.
Nate Lowry, Media Communications, the OSAA.
Bob Gramzow, Executive Director, OAOA.
Excellent. All right, we are gonna start with I do need a motion. We have some minutes to approve both for May and July. They're in the packet. And I have someone that would like to read the motion.
I'll move.
Motion by Matt, second by Anna Marie. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. Peter.
Good morning. So the Executive Director's report and the preview of the agenda. The only change to the agenda when we first sent it out, I mistakenly left off a action item regarding participation limitations. And we talked about that this summer, cleaning up some language. So added that to the agenda, I think a day or two after we sent it out to the membership. Other than that, it should be as listed on the agenda sent to member schools.
And then just a reminder, we will follow parliamentary procedures. So again, motion in second, followed by any discussion after that, and then we'll take a vote. So we'll just follow those procedures as best as possible.
Okay. Again, typically at this first meeting of the year for the board, at the advice of legal counsel, we do a couple of adoptions of some of our publications. So the first is adoption of the 25-26 OSAA handbook. Again, we updated it with all the changes from last year. It was posted at the start of August. So we'd be looking for a motion to approve adoption of the 25-26 OSAA handbook.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Larry, second by Jamie. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Similarly, at the advice of legal counsel, we also want to adopt our activity handbooks. So again, looking at cheer, dance, music, solo music, band, choir, band, orchestra, and choir, and speech as well. So we'll be looking for adoption of those.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion by George, second by Anne Marie, any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
And then finally, our 2025 fall plan books, again, talking about football, volleyball, soccer, and cross country. Those have been out for a few weeks now to schools in advance of first practice dates and first contact dates, and looking for adoption from those.
So move back.
A motion by Kurt, second by Matt. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Billy?
All right, I'm gonna turn it over, and we forgot to let you introduce yourself, Kyle, so go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll have you, take, 2D.
Yeah, no problem. Kyle Stapel, Chief Operating Officer with the staff. So 2D, page 7 in your packet is an updated state championship calendar. I'm actually going to turn it over to Missy Smith of our staff as the 2 changes to our calendar revolve 2 sports that she's involved with or leading. So Missy, will you please walk us through volleyball and changes in golf, please?
Yeah, you bet. I think I mentioned it this summer a little bit with the board. We have moved 1A, 2A over to LeGrand and Eastern Oregon University. We'll both be going to single courts over there. Really excited about that and the opportunity. LeGrand is very welcoming and really excited to host us this year. So we're excited about that. Golf, we lose Tristine Tree this year for the NCAA regionals. So we had to pick up another course. Tokatee was nice enough to offer to shut their course down for those 2 days, and we can put 2 classifications there. So we will be putting the 5A and the 3A, 2A, 1A boys at Tokatee, and that will put our 6A and our 4A boys at Emerald Valley this year. And then it'll also, we're going to put our 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A girls at Eagle Crest Resort for the year. So we'll still have a state event over in Central Oregon. I know that was people were kind of sad to see us not be there at all. So we will be over there this year for girls golf. So yeah, it should be a great year. And the 6A, 5A, if I didn't mention it, girls will be at OGA for our second year using that venue. So super excited about that. Any questions on any of the state changes? All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Missy.
All right, the next one, 2E in your packet is just a financial update. Basically, the championship revenue and expense from the 24-25 championship that's listed there again in 2E. Again, we've reviewed this with the board as we went through last year. Typically in the winter, we're reviewing what happened in the fall. In the spring, we're reviewing what happened in the winter. And then we referenced this at our summer workshop in July as well. So working with Candy, we've now, we believe, finalized this. So you see the numbers there. If you go down to the bottom right, I think we budgeted a net revenue for our state championships of 620,000. We came in at 612, so pretty close to budget. I think like we're seeing with schools as well, obviously the cost has continued to rise. So cost for venues, cost for personnel, officials, etc. Those things just continue to rise. So this will be an important document that we have worked with our budget committee on as we get ready for our state championship committee, which we'll talk about a little bit later this morning. These things will be important as we make sure that we're able to afford what we're doing with championship. So just wanted to share that information. Happy to try and answer any questions that anyone has. All right. Keep going. Okay. On to new business. So 3A in your packet are the proposed priorities for the association for this year. Again, as in the last couple of years, we've stood on 4 different standing priorities related to operations, communications, financial, and our foundation. And then we typically have a few specific priorities for the calendar year, for the school year. And so that's no different in 25-26. So you see that there in your packet. The first priority being to engage the membership and general public through the classification and districting and state championship committees. Again, this is a big year for the association, working with those two significant groups, ensuring that all input received is thoroughly reviewed and considered in a transparent process. We also added in reviewing our priorities for assignment of special districts across all sports and activities. That's been a topic of discussion, particularly with our smaller classification 1A, 2A, 3A schools. And then as part of those processes, effectively incorporating the changes and recommendations made by both the Petition to Play Down Task Force and through the Championship Threshold Task Force across all sports and activities. So that's our first priority. Second is to continue the work of the Transfer Eligibility Task Force, take action to address concerns expressed by member schools by making changes to rules and policies in this area, make needed adjustments to required forms, including electronic options, to better track the number and frequency of transfers, both eligible and ineligible across the state. We've also talked about exploring the implementation of a comprehensive student data collection system to better understand the demographics of our membership and to help make more informed rulemaking decisions. That'll be a continued topic of conversation as we work throughout the year. Third is working directly with the members of our Student Advisory Council to enhance their visibility and impact on the association as a whole. We want to continue to provide student leadership opportunities like the upcoming Captain's Camp that'll be held later this month at North Eugene High School. We want to continue to provide those opportunities to schools and students statewide so that students can practice what they're learning. And then finally, providing additional resources, training, and reporting mechanisms excuse me, to schools and officials associations focused on preventing, responding, and restoring following bias incidents, continuing to educate our ever-changing coaches and administrators regarding expectations when hosting an interscholastic contest to positively impact the environments connected to all sports and activities. So those are the four priorities, pretty robust of what we're focused on throughout the year based on our conversations with the board, working as a staff and putting those together. Happy to try and answer any questions or take any feedback or suggestions.
Peter, have you seen other states implement the comprehensive student data collection system? And if so, how has that worked out when they've done that?
Yeah, you know, it's a little bit hit and miss around the country. There are certainly some states that have that, and we've had some conversations with them. Lauren and I have been working with some other states to get an idea. Specifically, we spent some time with Washington and trying to figure out how those things work for them, how that might be implemented in Oregon. I think that the states that are using those feel like they're effective. And now I think it's just up to us to figure out what it is we're looking for and then how best to make that happen. So most of the stuff that we've done with things like our website or eligibility forms and things like that, we've all done in-house for a long time. And the question is, do we want to look at going outside and collaborating with a different group to make that happen? In most states, that's what they've been doing. And so that's what we're exploring.
Would you say that those states say that their transfer systems or eligibility processes are far more improved when they implement that?
Well, I think some of them had them in place for a while, George, so I'm not sure. You know, I think they feel like their processes are improved. I think it still comes down to, as we talk about transfers, and we'll talk about that a little bit later as well, but I think that obviously the rules and policies are the key, but having the processes in place. And I think for us, the idea of beyond just transfers is looking at having better information and data about our member schools within their students. So if we look at things like rulemaking policies, that we're doing so from an informed position, as opposed to we think that's what's out there. So I think that's the vision. Laura, was that?
That's accurate.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions?
I just appreciate you and staff continue to look for a student voice. I think that's really important for student organization, really. I just appreciate the work being done there.
Well, and again, it's a good opportunity to call out the work that Missy has been doing, and obviously working with other members of the staff. And she's really taken the point on the Student Advisory Council and the work that's gone on there. Again, working with other members of the staff, but I think it's really kind of in the process of turning that into a group, as you said, Gus, that will allow us to hear that voice and utilize their input to hopefully continue to make decisions in the future that benefit all students. So I would be looking for an adoption of those priorities.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Matt, second by George. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Kyle,
Yes, in your packet, the 3B, page 11 is the ticket prices for this upcoming year. We kind of revised this, or not revised, reviewed this summer in July. Really no changes, but that want to come from the budget committee. So pretty status quo going in this upcoming year. So really for the adoption of the ticket prices for 25-26.
And, you know, we talked a little bit this summer, just to piggyback on what Kyle said. You know, the last couple of years we've had set in place purposefully from the budget committee some increases to dues and fees for member schools. This is the third and final year of that 3-year plan. As we talked to the budget committee this last spring, one of the things they talked about is the need, you know, we haven't adjusted these ticket prices really for a few years. That'll be a topic of conversation again as we look to next year and beyond with the budget.
Move to adopt ticket prices.
Second.
by Kurt, second by David. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
The 3C in your packet is the 25-26 playoff reimbursement formula. And again, we spent some time over the summer talking with the board at the workshop. Basically, we're recommending the $850,000 again for the 25-26 reimbursement budget. That's what we put in our overall budget. The one thing that we're requesting, and it's reflected here, is just a slight shift to the percentage breakdown. Again, just a reminder of how we do that. We have the total budget, and then we allocate a certain percentage every season so that we can reimburse schools at the end of each season, as opposed to waiting until the end of the year. And as we've worked with Gibby in our office, he's the one that put together the system that tracks all that information, which is really a great system that treats students' activities equitably across, which we haven't always had. So we're excited that we've had that the last couple of years. But we wanted to tweak the percentages just slightly. So you see that be 34% in the fall, 30% in the winter, and 36% in the spring. And again, we believe that would be our best accurate reflection of trying to reimburse schools for their costs, traveling change. So again, we'd be looking for adoption there. Happy to answer any questions that any board members have.
Move we adopt the reimbursement schedule.
Second.
Motion by Kurt, second by Bill. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Lauren.
Yes, 3B in your packet here are the soccer playoff allocations for 3-2-1A special districts. Of note here would be that the girls' allocations stay the same, or the proposal here is to keep them the same from last year. On the boys' side, there were some changes to special districts with programs either not coming back or programs being added. And with that, the change in allocation there to be 17 automatic qualifiers and then 3 at large. Last year it was 18 and 2 at 8.
Motion to approve.
So
First, motion by Gus. Second by David. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Perfect. Motion passes. Let's see.
Yeah, we have the spring special districts ready for adoption. We reached out and shared those out throughout the state with all of our everyone who's in special districts. We got feedback, we went through that feedback, we adjusted as needed, and the only one that we did not adjust was we had made a move with the Dallas and Madras in tennis. and got some feedback from that league that, they didn't want to drive by, a ton of schools to get back to play those schools. So we moved them back, we adjusted them back, and, that sits there for this year. And they've been notified and they're okay with that, so we're ready to move forward for vote.
Need a motion for proposed special districts for spring sports and activities.
So moved.
Motion by David, second by George. I need this, Kurt, excuse me. Kurt did it. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Melissa,
Page 47, 3F1, Oaks Christian High School is looking to become a full member. They have exactly 10 students this year. They're looking to offer boys and girls cross country, boys and girls golf, and boys and girls swimming. And they are working on accreditation, so that will be coming in the coming months and years.
When you say accreditation to become a secondary school or accreditation?
Accredited.
Yeah, it's on the page 48.
at one point I will need a motion once everyone looks through it. Motion by Gus. Second by Anna Maria. Any discussion to the full membership for Oak Christian High School? All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Reedport High School is looking to be independent for their football 9-player team. This upcoming.
Starts on page 49.
Correct, yeah, 49, and then the letter from the league is on page 50.
Looking for a motion.
So moved.
By Kurt,
Second.
second by George, any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Carries. Last one.
All right, well, Minot High School starts on page 51. They're also looking to have an independent 11-player football team for the season. It sounds like they're low on numbers, so they're looking at a little bit more flexibility as they build back that football program.
Move to approve.
Motion by Kurt.
Second.
Second by Larry, any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Peter.
All right, 3G in your packet, executive board appointment to a 1A at-large representative. Again, with Misty Wharton's resignation from Nestucca, the 2A 1A at-large position is available. So when we became aware of that, sent out information to all 2A 1A member schools, superintendents, principals, athletic directors, making them aware of the vacancy, letting them know how they can apply, etc. You see before you, I think we had 10 applications that we received, a number of good candidates from different parts of the state. People have been working with us. Obviously, we only have one spot to fill. As we discussed last night, typically when we reach out to the people who are not selected for this position, encourage them to get involved, whether it's committee work or different appeals boards or what have you. So again, we appreciate the interest from a number of people around the state, and now it's just up to the board to select the person they want to appoint for the 2A 1A at-large representative.
I think for a variety of reasons, I'm definitely impressed with a lot of folks that have applied for this. But for reasons of more location and having similar schools within their school district, I think Miley Stolen is the person that I would recommend to replace to be on this executive board.
I second.
So motion by George, second by Kurt. Any other discussion?
Just echo what Pete said, that it's a good problem to have when you have 10 applicants. I think it's difficult for us to narrow it down to 2 or 3, but hopefully those folks will want to serve on a committee and gain some experience.
Yeah, I think that's just shows the interest in what we're trying to do for students, so I appreciate that.
Just in the state, I was talking to Krista Parent, who's the executive director for COSA. We've had over 190 new superintendents, 197 superintendents the last 6 years. So there's great turnover. And with all that to be said, is Misty Gordon is an outstanding school superintendent. She's going to be missed in the seat. And I hope that we continue to wrap around, circle around all the superintendents in the state to make sure that they're successful. Because there's so many people out there that can just continue to wrap around our superintendent colleagues, because again, it's a and in any leadership positions get more difficult, and Misty will be missed.
Appreciate that. Chris. Very well said. All right, so we have motion on the floor to approve my leave. Again, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Welcome aboard, and we'll see you at the next meeting.
And we'll reach out to all the other candidates as well. Thank them for their application. Hopefully they get them involved. Yeah, keep moving forward. So the next one in our packet is 3H, proposal to amend Article 5.8. You know, sometimes happens when things come about, you realize that your language in your handbook maybe needs to be clarified and addressed. So we had very clear language we felt for when we had a vacancy on our executive board for somebody who was in an elected position. We've done that several times over the past few years, hold those elections, et cetera. It's a little less clear when it came to an appointed position. So speaking with our legal counsel, he suggested an amendment that we would put forth. Again, if approved, this would go from the board to the delegate assembly, since it's an article, and basically just stipulates the difference between a vacancy and how it's filled for an elected position versus a vacancy for an appointed position. Again, basically the practice we've been following, but codifying it in the article. So happy to answer any questions. If approved, this would be moved on to the October delegate assembly.
Again, you see that language in 5.8.2 and 5.8.3.
Motion to approve amendment for Article 5.8.
Motion by George, second by Matt. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries.
Kyle, you want to get emerging activities
Yeah,
there?
sorry. I hear you. I was writing our notes. So amendment Article 6.3, emerging activities. Really, this is just putting into policy. They go to the delegate assembly, but we're just laying out exactly how we've been operating with emerging activities. Lays out what we won't do, and also lays out what we will do year 1, and what we will do year 2. It could be kind of a moving target, but those things we feel like we're settled in. But we're offering year 1, year 2 to someone moving forward as our emerging activities. So look for a motion to push it on to the delegate assembly.
Motion by Bill. Second by Jamie. Any discussion? I will add, I appreciate this is moving. This is the first time we've really gone through this with the sports that have come forward. So again, codifying with what we think is best practice, I think is a good step in the direction that we're trying to do. So appreciate the work by the staff on this. Because you know, it's new for us, for the board and the association, the Gavin Sports. All right, so we have a motion. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Peter and Lauren.
Would you like me to go?
Sure, you want to start?
Sure thing, if you could fill in, absolutely. Okay, our transfer eligibility task force has been meeting all this past year. We will reconvene, as we'll talk about here in a minute. Or later in the meeting. With those, we have gone to the delegate assembly with questions. We have gone to OADA conference with feedback and questions. Came back and have continued to discuss potential policy changes in our transfer rules. We talked about some this summer at our workshop. What we're putting in front of you now, after that discussion at our summer workshop, is a first reading of potential rule changes around transfer regulations. As we heard from this group in the summer, after looking at a number of different potential options, we have combined a couple. We heard one, that reciprocal transfers, we did not want to change policy or process there, but these two actions we might want to look at. So again, had looked to combine them. The proposal would be to, if a student otherwise ineligible, or if a ineligible student, right, transfers, they would not be eligible in the sport that they participated in their previous school or activity in their previous school for one full calendar year. And then allowing them to participate at the sub-varsity level in any other sports and activities that they had not participated in at their previous schools. So again, if you had a student that had played softball at their previous school, they were ineligible when they transferred. Therefore, they would not be eligible in softball for one full year or the season. And they would be eligible then only to participate in sub-varsity at in any other sport or activity. So if they wanted to participate, say, in basketball, they could participate, but at the sub-varsity level. So would love to open this up too. But Peter, was there anything other?
No, again, I think based on the conversations we had in this summer with the board, and then also, as Lauren mentioned, with the task force, it seems like the message we've heard from schools is that they want to see some changes. Landing on what those changes are and proving to be more difficult, at least in the short term. So I think there's still a significant desire as we talk to schools, as we talk to athletic directors, to try and do what we can to address transfers. And that's going to take, as we talked about before, when we talked about priorities, it's going to take changes in language, policy, and protocols. The best avenue to do that, again, there's not 100% agreement on the best way to get at it. We continue to talk with other states. Some have implemented some new rules. We'll be meeting with our Western states here next week to find out, again, as they've implemented some of those new rules, are they actually working? Are they working the way that they thought they would? Are they having the desired impact or not? So the idea behind this, and it's just the first reading, is we wanted to put something out there to the board based on our conversation because we know we need to have some changes. We're just trying to figure out the best way to make those changes and what those would be. There's different input from different schools around the state, leagues, classifications, because there are different issues. If you're living in a metropolitan area where there's 15 to 30 schools within driving distance of you, that's going to be a different issue than if you're on the outskirts in a more rural situation. We understand that. So my anticipation is it's not going to be one single change. It could be a multitude of changes, and that's what we're trying to work through. So as Lauren said, we brought this for you to look at, to provide feedback on. We'll have the discussion with the transfer eligibility task force later this month when that group gets back together and determine what we're going to do forward.
Questions before motion, and then we can go into any discussion?
Well, no motion on this because it's first reading. Yeah.
Sorry, thank you.
So again, this is just, I think, really more discussion for board member input, suggestions, ideas, things that we're not considering in here that we should be. Things that you heard when you talk to people as you go around and people bend your ear, as I'm sure they've been our ear on, hey, this needs to change, and so on and so forth.
So would this be one of those things that if we did put this into to a rule into policy, I think there's some league SOPs that might contradict to some of this, what's going on in terms of participating in sub-varsity stuff, like seniors participating in sub-varsity activities and stuff. So would it be the expectation that league SOPs align with this board policy? And then it would be an allowable thing for seniors to participate in sub-varsity contests?
Again, those are decisions made at the local level. I don't think we would allow, based on the rule change, allow the league to have a policy that was more permissive than what our policy is. So again, different leagues do that differently. They also do it differently by
Right.
activity. You may see that more on contact sport than contact sport, as you know. But again, if something was set up at the state level, then leagues would have to adhere to that.
Peter, my question would be on the line of, if I have not played a varsity sport, I've never played varsity softball, but I've played varsity basketball. I transferred to a new school, why would I not be able to, or should I not be able to play a different varsity sport than the one that I've already played? That would be a question I think people would ask. I want to know why we chose that.
So give me your example.
So I played varsity basketball in McDaniel for 2 years. When it's my senior year, I transferred to Jefferson. Right? Based on this, I'm not eligible to play basketball at Jefferson after I put up. What? But if I've never ran track or played a different sport, why could I not play varsity in that other school?
That's good feedback to say if we think that should be allowable, then that's the type of adjustments we could make to bring this back. If the crux of it, I think what you're getting at, the crux of the issue is we believe the transfer for basketball, because that's what they've been doing at varsity level previous sport, then allowing the student to run track or to be a part of the tennis team or what have you that they haven't done before. Where's the harm?
I guess I would simplify it that way. What are we trying to accomplish with the transfer policy? To limit the number of transfers for kids who play varsity to go to other schools and play varsity. Is that what we're trying to do? Or is it to say that as a association, we don't believe in kids transferring, but if you really transfer for academic reasons, you can play somewhere. So we kind of do it.
I don't know if I have any answer. I think that's part of what we're trying to figure out.
And I guess I'm asking us to determine that, but I think that will then drive whatever the policy.
I think one of the bigger things for me sometimes now is for transfer eligibilities or transfer regulations and what we do in urban or suburban or rural settings or what we do with private schools. It's like I want some professional development on how the process works or how it should work at some point, whether it's a 1 hour or a 30-minute review. I wonder how much athletic directors or principals get that, just so that we have clarity with our systems. So that's sometimes when I'm just listening, like for us to really have it a little more clear on how it's supposed to work.
George, is that to help like a family? So as an example, I'm going to a little bit.
Yeah. Help us to help families or help our
Just
ADs.
be able to explain the process.
Yeah.
So they understand it more completely, that we have as athletic directors, building principals have that understanding to be able to then guide and support, just being clear on what those policies are.
I mean, and really, we're talking about mid-year transfers that don't involve an entire family move. Right, I mean, we're talking about a transfer in general, and my concern also is just also keeping the idea of typically those folks that can move are families that have means in the first place. And so I think the policy is keeping a close eye on, are we being equitable with all participants, and what does that look like for applicants?
George, I'd like to add to your comment. I think not only educate the parents But the administrators, but I think a part of educating administrators is what is their responsibility in terms of enforcement, right? So if someone does transfer, do I have the right to say no, that a kid can't participate in my school? Do I have the obligation to go check an address? If they turn in their stuff, do I just accept it? And then, what is the consistency of that application across our system? I think all that's a good part to be, provide professional development.
And one last thing, and it might sound bad, but and how do you keep it simple? Or how do you keep it, like, to me, the more bureaucracy of it all, the more, follow this, do this, I always think like, complicated is hard, just how do you keep it simple or clear, easier to understand for people?
Peter, I have a clarifying question,
Sure, Dave, go ahead.
and that is, back to what Marshall was talking about, what if it's a multi-sport athlete? Then who determines? That's the number one thing, they're being recruited for basketball, Jeff, but not triple jump. Who determines that? That kind of goes back to the simplicity of the enforcement.
Yeah, I mean, those are good questions. I want to be clear, I don't have the answers to all those things. It's a process that we're working through, but I think questions like that, Dave, or what Marshall brought up in terms of trying to figure out the direction, I think that helps determine where we want to go. And I'd like to keep it clear too, George, but there's 50 different scenarios for each situation. And we spend probably about a half hour at our fall administrative workshop specifically on transfers, the process, the forms, etc. We could spend the whole 3.5 hours on it and probably still not cover everything. We try to hit the highlights and review that for people. So I think looking at all those different scenarios and different impacts, that's one of the reasons we have a task force to be able to do this. It's a good group that represents a number of different parts of the state. We have single high school districts. We have single high school districts in urban and in rural areas. There are multiple high school districts in different parts of the state because our multiple high school district policies and transfers, intra-district transfers from one school to another within the same school district. There's, I know, concerns about some of those things as well. So all those things are on the table. Again, I think the thought here was let's put something down on paper, even if it's obviously just the first reading to get feedback like we're getting today, which is helpful to then take to the task force, talk to other states, continue those conversations, figure out the directions that we want to go, and in some ways figure out the directions we don't want to go. Are there things that we're just not gonna be able to deal with, and focus on the ones that we feel like we can control.
Would this also maybe unintentionally have an impact on the hardship process where we already have a little bit of a non-systemic disjointed hardship process across the state already? Will we see more of those students applying for hardship stuff to not have to fall underneath this rule? But we would see.
Potentially, but also what we put forward and what we have changed going into this fall is an increased level of documentation requirement for hardships, as well as putting our eligibility, eligible student transfer certificate online, where we're asking for more specifics, which I think is going to align our hardship committees a bit better than it has been previously. And so I think with that consistency, I'm hoping we're gonna actually see less.
And that was, that was one of the conversations that we had with the task force and then through the delegate summit and the AD conference as well. If, back to kind of Marshall's question, if the focus is on participation and knowing that we want to curb transfers, but allow for participation, maybe in a sport they haven't participated in, those types of things, or sub-varsity participation, then you're allowing that participation. Then really, what are they feeling? And the thought is, depending on the way the rule is written, that you would maybe see less transfers because they don't run to risk the issue of I can only compete at the sub-varsity level. If you're able to impact the number of transfers, it could get to a point where, and this is done in some other states, usually smaller states, that then the ones who are seeking those hardships potentially wouldn't go to a district committee. They would come, for example, to our office. But we can't deal with 700 transfers in our office. We don't have that capacity. But if those numbers are reduced to a level that would make sense, then giving them their just due in terms of looking all the way through them, reviewing the information, those types of things, maybe it's possible.
So Lauren, did the committee look at all at like, instead of limiting, limiting the number of students that could attend, like right now there's a program that's really hot in a certain sport. Now there's a bunch of kids that want to transfer, limiting the total number that could transfer, like maybe just 2 versus 3 or 4 or 5. Is that something that they ever looked at?
No, I think at least my recollection was, there wasn't the talk about limiting the number. The talk was trying to affect change by policy change. So again, saying that people, for example, transfers could take place, but they can only participate at the sub-varsity level. And if that's the case, then you're probably not going to see 9 transfers to school. You'll see less.
Or if you said like, okay, one of the 3 could participate at the varsity level and all the rest have to stay at the JV level, and just kind of making it less appealing for, I'll just put it out there for a coach or a program to go out and, hey, we're going to build the next powerhouse program. So we're going to pick up all these kids and now have a great team. Well, guess what? Now among those transfers, they've got one of them's going to rise out. So this doesn't look like that.
Well, I think I agree with that. I think one of the things that we've seen too, as we talk with the task force and hear from people, there's a lot of conversation about the kids that are transferring and coming in and those types of things. But I think what sometimes gets lost in the shuffle are the kids that they're coming in and replacing. So you might have that student that's been, played on the freshman team, played on the JV team, and now it's their junior year, and they're going to be the second baseman on the softball team, and they're all ready to go. And then 4 transfers come in, and all of a sudden, maybe not on the varsity, maybe they're not in programming. And so I think it's as we keep those types of things in our mind at the forefront, then again, like what Marshall said back then, what's our ultimate goal? That'll help see these goals.
But to that point too, even if you just relegate these transfers to a JV, you're still eliminating positions for potentially another student to even be in the program at all, because maybe that bumps down to the JV, that's your non-level team or your freshman team. Those kids don't even have a chance to be connected with you, because you've got a transfer coming in and taking the spot.
But do you really think that many are gonna transfer if they can't play varsity?
They'll try to keep them.
I'm concerned that it may not limit the number of appeals anyway, because they're gonna say, well, you're letting them play JV, why can't they're obviously not a JV level, we've moved, why can't you let them be? I'm hoping there's not an unintended consequence that it doesn't decrease the number.
Which is part of the reason that we're having these conversations with other states where they've implemented pieces of those things over the last year or two to determine, again, if they have the intended effect or what was the unintended effect.
I think most people think they can appeal anything, right?
And I was in a state that had, and I don't know what they do now, but prior years, they have the sub-varsity and yes, those north of us. And it actually, we saw some decrease, right? I think there is families in that question then, do I really want to transfer and 1, sit out here, right? Because you're not going into your varsity sport. And then 2, even if I want to play other sports now, I just know that I'm at this level. So it did help. I'm not saying it's helped everything. I want to be clear about that. I think this is a constant across not only our state, but multiple states, probably nationally, I'm assuming with NIL coming in different things that we're all seeing, having to work through. So we can see why this is a priority this year for us as an association.
Well, I think it's going to be a multi-tiered strategy. I think there'll be multiple things that have to be a part of it to get the desired results. Right? So we want to stop the kids then literally the 4 schools. There could be a sports school going to play basketball. we know that's not good for years of reasons, right? So, but then on the same, by the same token, as we were speaking earlier, I want the administrators to know that playing sports is a privilege at a school, it's not a right. Or you might, a kid might get in, and you might, in your building, decide that just because you transfer doesn't mean you get to play. And I am not going to allow you to play to take the place of kids who've been here for 3 or 4 years. That the building has the right to make those kind of decisions. So I just think whatever it is that we look at the multiple ways to help the system become healthy, whatever we do.
All right, good feedback. Yeah,
Quick, if I can add something, on behalf of coaches, we just want to say thank you for addressing this. It's not an easy decision, it's not an easy, way to answer stuff, but it needs to be taken care of some sort. If it's not the number one, it's a close number second of the number of calls that we receive in our office from coaches frustrated with transfers. So thank you for at least addressing it. One that we haven't talked about is a lot of our coaches are concerned because some of the universities bring people in from out of state for their junior and senior year because they're recruiting them and they want to take care of them, make sure they bring them in their own back door. And so they actually sponsor them transferring into a high school in their area. So we also maybe need to look at how, it's not just Oregon kids moving from school to school, but a few of them are also coming from out of state because of universities. And so thank you again for at least addressing it. It's going to be so nice. I had 5 emails last week. What's happening with the transfers? So I can answer them now that, we are addressing it at the executive board level. And so thank you.
Please, all of this documentation is online. Please put into that Q&A. I think there's some really good things for people to read.
Yeah.
All right.
Next one. So 3K in your packet is a proposal to amend our board policy regarding concussion management. Again, we referenced this in July at the board workshop, but House Bill 3007 in a new Oregon administrative rule was put forward. We were in contact, had a couple of meetings with ODE and their people who were putting together the information I think that you received from them out to schools, and basically took that as an opportunity to review our concussion management policy. We cleaned up some language here and then also added reference to both the House bill and the administrative rule and requirements that are in place for our public education providers, including some links to OD resources, etc. Again, to be clear, it doesn't change or conflict with what we've had on the books for a long time in terms of Max's law and Jenna's law, but really it's focused on that school obligation to, once they've been made aware of a brain injury for a student, that collaboration with the family, putting together an immediate temporary accommodation plan, ITAP, and they're going to do a sample form in order to provide those accommodations for students. So be looking for an adoption to amend this board policy. Happy to answer any questions.
Is that return to play education course listed on our website?
Which course?
The return to play education course for anybody that's not a medical provider.
The one referenced in the no, it is not. Again, you have to be a healthcare professional in order to take that course. What we talked with our sports medicine advisory committee about, and working with the state traumatic brain injury group, is putting together like a 1 or 2 pager that was specifically aimed at those schools that don't have the services of an athletic trainer to provide them best practices and what they're supposed to do along the lines of what you're talking about. So that's in the works right now.
Or but if we have school nurses that are certified medical folks, they can take that course, right?
But they can't by state law, they can't. I mean, that's listed in the. You have to be a
chiropractor or
Correct.
to take it.
The PT, nurse practitioners, etc.
How would the school know the person who's taking that course?
they would be, when they sign off on that, that they attest to the fact that they.
Real quick, Peter, besides, I want to move forward. The law that came in for House Bill 3007. Sometimes we have like implementation periods of, it'll start to happen by January 1st of 2026. Is this one already?
This one is on the books.
And it must be implemented right now.
I move that we approve the changes to concussion management policy.
Second.
Motion by Kurt, second by Gustavo. Any other discussion? And Peter, I know there's already been some communication that's gone out about this, but is that after we make this motion and approve it, will there be follow-up with that?
Yep.
Thank you.
And we meet with our sportsmen and advisory committee tomorrow night, so.
Any other discussion? Thank you. All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
One last thing, I know we just wrapped it up, but and I know ODE has a website. I talked to Kelly and I think she forwarded it to me. I think we forward, OSA forwards the ODE resource page that has the what's called protocol and procedure and documentation process, and that would help.
Great information. We'll get that posted to our website as well. Yeah, I know, good idea, George. So it's a good spot. We added the link there in the policy, but the more places you put it.
Yes, the proposal in front of you is to align our OSAA activities as it speaks to cooperative sponsorships. So looking at 6A schools or schools with combined ADMs that would make them 6A classification, we would allow them to, or we would allow them to apply for a cooperative sponsorship. And if approved, then we would allow them to not compete, but they could then go to competitions, festivals. So I'm talking about cheer, dance, band and orchestra already does this. Our activities, right? They would be able to go and receive feedback from the adjudicators or judges, but they wouldn't be able to receive scores and therefore would not be able to qualify for the state championship. So we've heard that there's a potential desire for this amongst some schools and programs who want to just have participation. No, they won't be coming to the state championship, but would like to be able to go out and get feedback and participate.
Move to approve the cooperative sponsorship.
Second. Motion by Kurt, second by David. My question just is, Lauren, is this more to help potentially build programs? Is that really where some of the conversations happen from the coaches?
Yes.
Okay.
So are we, maybe I'm trying to make sure I grapple with this.
Yeah.
So I'm a 6A school and I'm well that I have Riverdale that's lower than me, and we want to combine to have a dance program. So what I think I'm understanding, and then when we go to dance competition, we can't win the competition because
6A number combined with feedback won't be placed for school.
I guess why couldn't we win? I don't understand.
We don't allow co-ops with 6A schools. So this is something that we've done it in music previously, where they will have groups that will go. They will so just receive the feedback but not receive scores. And they're looking to build a program. Again, the conversations I think with the dance and maybe even cheers, there's some interest in there, people that are struggling with numbers that want to combine together, start to build something with the goal of being able to break those out and have a program in the future. But if they can't go to a competition, at least be there, receive feedback, etc., then it's going to make it that much more difficult.
In the scenario you just explained, which I understand, I was thinking if you're already the 6A program that has a program and you're allowing for this and you're killing whatever opportunities we had for state championships, that to me, I'll just say was more of an act of love for a group to be able to say we're gonna diminish what we already have existing, but if they're both, let's say, weak and they need to have some exposure. I understand it that way, but the other way I was thinking, why would a 6A say,
I don't think they would.
They
Yeah.
would, yeah,
No.
It's just a
We
small.
then limit, I guess.
which is our
that
current
Limit
policy.
the opportunity for kids to participate, I guess, is the part, I guess, but I'm.
Well, that's our current policy. I mean, our current policy says that we do not have cooperative sponsorships for 6A programs or 5 to 5.
Active, I mean, it seems like an activity that would, maybe I'm.
There's still-
It seems like an activity that wouldn't be that.
I think cheer and dance, well, I think all of our activities, quite honestly, would have an issue with 6A schools creating a
Superpower.
superpower.
Program.
Yes, yes, they would be very upset.
They're still competing.
But what we are seeing is, say, like a Hillsborough and a Glencoe have really small dance programs and or just a couple of kids and they aren't able to get momentum happening, but they would love to just, connect and get out to competitions and be able to get some feedback, hopefully build
But then
some
those
momentum
kids
for them.
from the lower level are now all gonna transfer to the bigger. Then for the friends, right?
You know.
There's maybe about cooperative, but are collective options.
That's the only individual.
I understand that
Clear as mud.
better.
Second.
Move to approve, is that what did we get it?
Are you moving to the color?
We already have.
Yeah, we did.
Go ahead.
Okay.
This second.
Say, both.
All right, page 83, proposal to amend the language. We've been getting inundated with, questions regarding what is open period, what is closed period? Can we have open gym during open period or can we have open gym during closed period? So all of a sudden that language gets really tricky. So closed makes sense. Closed, you can't do anything. Open, can we do open gym during open period? So we changed it to instructional. So you'll just see the language change in there. Where we'll keep closed as closed and change the open to instructional period, which is very well defined with the 6 hours max, which includes open gym. So that is just a change with terminology.
Move to approve.
Motion by George, second by Marshall. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Kelly.
Yeah. So we have a few just tweaks and kind of updates to our weight management, weight monitoring program for wrestling that just kind of having been through it for a year, saw some opportunities for us to make this program a little smoother and just bring some updates that I don't think we thought of for a while. So the first one there in front of you, and this is on page 87, and in the packet, is regarding the growth allowance. So typically at some point during the season, you get a 2-pound growth allowance that is added onto the weight class. So this in the past in Oregon has happened on the second Sunday in January. I am changing this to, or proposing changing it to December 25th to align with the other states around us. There's a lot of competition that happens kind of right after the holidays before schools are back. And our teams go out of state. So allowing this growth to happen at that time will make that a lot smoother for those kiddos who are going and competing in other states. It also is a consistent date that'll make it easier for kids and coaches to remember and maybe take a little bit of weight monitoring for the holidays. So that's the first piece of this. Do you want me to just go through all 4?
Yeah, that'd be great.
The next one is something that we came across last year. It was really tricky with this one because our the way the plan is displayed, an individual's weight plan is displayed, wasn't actually reflecting what our policy was, and that made us look into the policy more. So currently, any of the kiddos who are assessed at under 7% for boys and under 12% for girls body fat. They are required to go get a physician's clearance that says that that's a healthy body fat for them to be at. We all know that they're just kiddos who have low body fat. So the physicians are still signing off on those kiddos, but one piece of our plan did not allow those kids to use that 2-pound growth allowance like their teammates with a higher body fat. So a kiddo who is assessed at 106.9 at the start of the season, under 7% body fat, he's never going to be able to, by his descent plan, get under 106. He'd be 106.2 by the end of the season. So he would never be able to wrestle that 108 that happens when the 2-pound growth kicks in. So that kid can actually gain weight and still be within that 2-pound growth, but our plan didn't allow them to do that. It would kick them up to 113, which is actually 115 with 2-pound growth. So this will allow them to use that 2-pound growth to access a lower weight. Okay, any questions on that? All right. The next piece is about weigh-ins. This is just, it's a system that's already in place. They should be doing it, or they need to be doing it. It's falls on the athletic directors as well. They should be monitoring and making sure weights are being entered after each competition. This next provision will just force our coaches to put those weights into the online weight management program that they're already using, and that's where their descent plans are. A lot of our coaches do it, but this will just bring everyone in line. It'll make everything more transparent. It will help them follow the descent plan better and make sure that they're where they need to be. They'll have up to 48 hours or before the next competition, whichever comes sooner. So it's something they can do on their phone, on the bus, on the way home from the competition. And basically, the system won't allow a kid to be on 2 weigh-in sheets. So it's going to stop them from getting weigh-in sheets at the next competition. I just keep looking at Trent. So keep doing what he probably knows exactly what I'm talking about.
I'm gonna go try, tell me.
Okay. And then the next piece is for out-of-state competition. This is just something that it seems like we've had kind of confusing interpretations, and I want to get us one interpretation, make sure all coaches are on the same interpretation. You get this out to them, is that when you're out of state, you can wrestle in the weight class your descent plan allows you to wrestle. So a couple of states around us might have something different. Idaho has a 98, 96. Nevada has some different weight classes than we use. So whatever our descent plan says you can be at that day, you can be in the weight class that corresponds to that weight. It's going to be the interpretation. So that's what some of them are doing anyways. Or we weren't. We'll all be on the same page. So these are the 4 dates.
So Kelly, with these 4, I'm just curious as to your thoughts about what the impact will be with each team. Like, is it an impact on 80% of the wrestlers or 10% of the wrestlers, or
the under 7%? I'm trying to think how many. I think that 30 kids, 30 boys that were under 7%, or maybe it was 30 girls were under 12%, and a little bit more, 70 boys were under 7%. It's not a huge. I think actually out of the kids who were assessed under there, and then their descent plan actually got them to within 2 pounds of a weight below them, is like, yeah. I think I ended up 10 coaches last year. So that's a pretty minimal impact, but it's a great thing for those kids, I think. The December 25th will affect every kid. Entering the weigh-ins, again, that's, I don't know what percentage of people do it now, but they should be doing it. It'll be better. Have them all online.
I move to approve the changes to the weight monitoring program, and I would echo, I think the consistent changes in the policy that it's equitable across for all, and the health and safety of kids in the monitoring. It's great. Second.
Motion by Kurt, second by Matt. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It carries. Lauren.
Here we are, back again, talking about tenants and match participation limits. I did bring this forward. Last year, we put it into the handbook only to find that we had actually had some errors. So basically what we were doing was trying to align our handbook with USTA guidelines or USTA rules as far as match limitations. When we approved it last year, there was a section that was used incorrect amounts. So bringing it back to you with the correct allocation of matches here, and we reordered some things after some great feedback from other tennis coaches, our tennis SRI, and some athletic directors taking a look at it as well, so that it reads a little more smoothly and a little better to understand. So really, we're approving the same thing we approved last year, just making it right.
Second. Motion by Gustavo, second by Anna Maria. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
So 3P in your packet is the adoption of the state championship committee. We talked a little bit last night, and we brought you a list of potential people. We've had some people reach out to us when we went around to the fall administrative workshops. We sought requests from people who wanted to be a part of this group. Again, they'll start meeting in December as the classification committee kind of wraps up, and then be busy throughout the first part of the year in 2026. So you see on the list, we have people who have reached out there noted in black font. The ones in red are people that as a staff we thought might be people either been interested in being a part of things in the past, or we thought would potentially fill out. We talked to the board last night and got some good feedback on adding some additional people as well for consideration. I think what I would propose that we do here is allow the staff, based on that feedback, to go back, put together what we think the actual committee. Again, we have 5 or 6 people listed for each classification here. There's only going to be one representative, and then we have the at-large reps, et cetera, the mayor's the board. We got feedback from the Coaches Association. Rob and Chris sent in their names as well. But allow us to go back as a staff and kind of put the puzzle together in terms of, if we have this person, they're representing this classification in this area, then we want to look for a different geographic area for another classification, et cetera. So what I would propose is that we table this. We'll get back together with the board the morning of the October delegate assembly meeting. We have an executive board work session, and we would be able to bring back to you finalized proposal for the state championship committee, along with the charge that you could look to approve and adopt at that time. That would still give us about 2 months before that group starts meeting, so plenty of time for them to get up and running and so forth. That would be my suggestion. Thoughts, comments?
Best way to go at this point. There's a lot there. Sort through. So,
okay.
That was a good suggestion.
I think we try and make a motion.
Move the table until a meeting in October.
By Larry, second by Matt. Any further discussion? All those in favor for tabling, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Right, before we go into reports, just any discussion from board members or concerns that board members want to bring forth as we embark on the new year? All right. Robin, Chris, all you.
Thank you.
First of all, we provided a handout that Chris will allude to in just a little bit and all. But before I get to those and all, just some thank yous. First of all, I want to say thank you to Bill. We feel he does an excellent job representing the thousands and thousands of high school coaches on your board. I just want to thank you for his time and energy that he provides on our behalf. And with that, one of the statements we often say out of our office is that kids need coaches more now than ever. And I think that holds true each and every year. It just seems every year kids need coaches more. Chris and I have had the opportunity to start our over 50 years of coaching a fall sport. And as we get out there and see our kids and all, I had a really interesting time. I went to Corbett High School along with Debbie last month, and Debbie talked about the OAA, and I had a presentation. And one of the questions that the coaches asked me is, Coach, what have you seen the difference when you started in the 1970s to today? Well, there's a lot of differences. And one of the things is because of the family unit in many ways so different. When I first started coaching as a head coach in the 80s, I ran a survey to get to know our kids better. One of the questions I asked is, how many of you living with your two biological parents? In the 1980, it was about 2/3, 2 out of 3. When I retired in 2009 fall season, it had gone down to 17%. Well, less than 1 out of 5 of our kids were living with their two biological parents. In fact, in 2009 and 10, we had more kids living in single parent homes than we had 2-parent homes. And I just think that, you know, coaches in so many ways take that role of a male or female influence in these kids' lives. And so with that, you know, we often talk about the importance of coaching and thanking our coaches. But for years, it was really interesting in your earlier discussion, dealing with Missy and some other things with superintendents. We often get to the coach calling us and say, Coach, what do you think about me applying for this job or taking this new job? And so we have about 3 or 4 questions that we ask them. And one of the first things we ask them is, what kind of support do you have from the administration in that new school district? Because if you don't, we often say administrators either make or break you as a coach. And so for you that are superintendents and administrators in this board, thank you for what you do in support of your coaches, because they couldn't coach if you guys didn't do it. And unfortunately, like it was said, you know, you have such a high turnover with superintendents and principals and vice principals and athletic directors. Dave, how many new athletic directors this year?
62 have either new or switched, so 21%.
Yeah, and so, you know, it's amazing that, you know, we in our profession, such an important profession, we're getting that kind of transition all the time. And so thank you for what you do in support of your coaches in your districts and all. It's so crucial. With that said, we've been very, very busy with membership. We're a little behind where we were the last 2 years, but we feel like we're going to catch up here quickly. We are very, very, very pleased in our transition to our new membership format template using final forms. It's an outstanding mechanism for us. We've been fellows very, very efficient, and we're excited about that, and we'll continue to work with that. One thing we did last month is Hoodie and Debbie and Peter and I and Chris got together and we talked about the upcoming year from our 4 different associations. And it's so valuable to do that. And one of the things we talked about is, you know, we've had a campaign, an annual campaign for our 4 associations each year. And we kind of came up with a new one this year. If you remember, you know, things that we've done in the past: suicide awareness, anti-hazing, equity and civil rights, EAPs, recruitment of officials 1 year. We really felt like we wanted to do this year a little bit different. Number one, our annual campaign is actually going to be the pre-event safety card. Getting it to our athletic directors, getting it to our administrators, getting it to our coaches, the importance of that pre-event safety card and going through it. And what we found last year is it kind of started off pretty strong at some of the larger sports, but what we want to make sure is happening is what are they doing at cross country? What are they doing in swimming? You know, where is those AEDs at a softball game? And so I think what we want to try and really do is make it really hit it hard each of the different 3 seasons, talking to our coaches about making sure that they know where that pre-event safety card
what they go through that pre-event safety cars and those things. With that, then, being that that's not a real big one, we thought it was really gonna be good this year to go back and review stuff, because I hate to forget about suicide awareness, because it's such an epidemic in our state. So we're gonna go back and, Peter made a great point, we're gonna look at suicide awareness, we're gonna look at anti-hazing and get information out to each of our coaches and athletic directors throughout the year, just on some of the things that have been past campaigns. So it's kind of a joint campaign this year with the pre-event safety card, and then also reviewing some of the things that we think is so important with our coaches and all. Chris, you want to kind of talk a little bit about the handout, and other stuff?
Yeah. Our coaches recruitment and retention campaigns in year number 4, and one component of that campaign is our mentorship program, which is in its 3rd year. We target coaches with less than 6 years of experience. However, we'll take anyone. Some of our coaches have multiple years of experience, but they're in their first few years as being a head coach. So this is a free program. We're looking for more because we have a great and experienced staff of mentors, and they're ready to go. So if you have anyone that you would like to have a mentor, let Rob or I know, and we'll hook them up. 0-week games in football have risen in this its 2nd year, which was a week ago Friday. This year we had 86 teams play the 0-week, up from last year's 75. So we appreciate you guys taking that proposal and passing it through. We think it's been very helpful to our athletic directors for scheduling, and also to our coaches and athletes as they get a bye game to kind of recover. Great safety factor for them. As Rob mentioned, you guys have a handout there from our banquet last year. It was one of our best banquets we've ever had. We honored well over 100 coaches at that banquet, but the real honor was awarding $26,500 in scholarships to 13 very highly deserving student athletes. So please look through that and see all of the awards, as well as the great recipients that received those awards. This year, we have 4 OACA sponsored clinics. Upcoming is our basketball clinic next month, Friday, October 10th at Wilsonville High School. We have a track and field clinic, January 30th and 31st. Our football clinic this year is March 6th through 8th at the Sheridan Portland Airport Hotel. Their volleyball clinic is April 17th. So please help your coaches attend those. Those are all outstanding clinics. We have some great clinicians coming for those. Thank you for all you do. We appreciate you very much.
In closing, I'd like to have you review a proposal that our 1A athletic directors have asked us to bring to you. It's page 92 on your handouts and all. What it deals with is in basketball, allowing 1A student athletes to have a 6-quarter rule. They discussed it at the OADA conference, and you can see at the bottom that it was unanimous 44-0, that they supported this. And what it does is it helps teams with their JV and varsity games where they can get complete JV games. I think it was written real well by Brad. If you look at the first 3 or 4 paragraphs, it talked a little bit about some of the concerns and to make sure that we deal with those. And then the last 3 paragraphs talk specifically about the rationale of why they want it. I have to take some responsibility here in that at our August meeting with the 4 associations, I brought a whole bunch of proposals in front, thinking that the vast majority are going to go to the state championship committee that our coaches have asked and our athletic directors have asked. And I kind of overlooked this one, and Peter made a great point that this is really not a state championship committee proposal. Asked us to bring it to you today. If it's a first reading, then we'd have it an action item on your December meeting. Our concern there, as Peter once again alluded to, was that's 3 weeks into the winter season. So I don't know how you want to address it. If you want to make it a first reading, great. We can kind of look at it as a action item in December. We will do that. Peter, any input on that, Hoodie?
Yeah, I guess a couple of things, and thanks for bringing it, Rob. I think we could look at this as a first reading, and then, like we were talking about with the state championship committee, we could even look at our October work session.
Okay.
The idea being that, you know, if it's something that's going to get approved, we don't want to do it 3 weeks into the season and the changes would go, but we could maybe make that in advance. So that's one scenario that we could look at. I guess the other question I would have is, obviously this is coming from the 1A. Typically when we see changes that allow for additional participation opportunities and so forth, that one classification, we're gonna probably see them. Have you had any inkling from, you know,
I have not
2A
heard
or 3A? I don't know, Dave, if you've heard anything coming out of the Sun River Conference or anything, or?
I have not.
To your point, though, I think we should look at if 2A or 3A have a similar need.
Is that something we want them to survey on and try and get information prior to our October meeting? Does that make sense? Or?
Peter, do we have policy that's one classification policy?
We do in the participation limitations, like in football, there's some different requirements for smaller schools versus bigger schools in terms of 5 and 6 quarters and how that plays out. Had that for a long time, so it wouldn't be unheard of in this type of situation. As is noted, and Brad put in the information, currently we would allow a student to participate in up to 8 quarters in a day. Just have to be at the same level, so 2 varsity games, 2 JV games. Really, it's not so much a safety issue, it's more of a operations for the coach and tracking quarters, and things like that. So that's why we've had that in football for a number of years, where it's just slightly different. But that part, I don't think would be necessarily an issue. I think to me that the idea of getting some feedback from 2A and 3A and potentially, maybe it's not a big issue. I don't think.
Well, part of the reason why I ask is I can see if I'm a coach trying to build a program and I have, say, 20 kid girls in my program, to be able to play them 6 quarters to improve their skill level over the course of the year would be a very, I would be something I would really be interested in. That's why I'm wondering, like, do we that if it's classification or is it are the acceptance to different classifications? Because I can see folks going to use that.
Right, and I think that's why we've seen like in the football, there's more opportunities in 1A, 2A, 3A football to get that 6 quarter, because we know that they're typically using it in order just to get the game. So that's where we kind of problem. Correct. Yeah. Which again may lead to really just starting with just a 1A request, seeing how it goes. But I'm with you, Marshall, as a coach, you can see people looking at that saying, now I'm gonna just play all my kids 6 quarters, which really isn't the intent. All right, yeah, exactly right.
So your request to that hopefully that's enough time to get feedback from 2 and 3A.
You mean 6? I don't think it changes the idea of the proposal for 1A. 1A has the biggest limitation of participation. I think it being approved by all the ADs 44, and I don't think it's being viewed as a competitive advantage necessarily. It's more about being able to participate, maintain, keep programs moving forward. So I think it's, to me, I would like to bring it forward in October, as Peter said, for approval for 1A. And then if there is additional feedback from 2 or 3A, which I think once you get to 3A, I don't think that's necessarily an issue. I can see it maybe at 2A for participation, but so feedback would be great, but I think we can still move forward for 1A.
I would agree with that. I think for me, the bigger issue was it would seem unfair to look at 2A needs. They might have similar circumstances.
I agree with Kurt. I sat in on that meeting in Sun River, that discussion. And it is about opportunities for kids to play, keep a program going.
We'll move forward in October with this proposal, and then if there's any other feedback.
October 19th, they have their league rep meeting, and we could bring it up at the league rep meeting if that's sufficient to you. It wouldn't affect this year, but 1A would, go, and then we could talk to the 2A, 3A reps at the league rep meeting, and that could be a question we ask them.
Yeah, I think it's important to get some data. Kurt, you mentioned 44 ADs. How many 1A ADs are there? So just because 44 at the OADA conference were in favor, I want to know the entire classification.
There are
And
98
also-
schools at the 1A, just to let you know. I don't know if they all
Like
offer
basketball.
basketball, but there are 98 schools.
Sure, okay, and regarding what George said, it'd be nice to get the 2A folks, get a solid chunk of data. from.
Would you like me to run a survey this month to see what we can do and have that for you, your October 6th meeting if I can?
If you can, that'd be great. I mean, data, but I also think, we've got a proposal to move forward in our October meeting and get some data definitely from the 1As, but I think anything you could.
And we always, yeah, okay. Good. Good. I will send that out, we'll send it out to our 1A athletic directors and head basketball and girls basketball coaches for 1A level. Okay, thank you for your consideration. Yeah.
Right, we're gonna take a quick break and then we're gonna do some school appearances and then we'll come back up to reports. So we'll take 5, 7 minutes. My quick number say, Power Square is 4 minutes, I would like to do 4, but I also understand. It's very small. Everyone,
Okay, we are unmuted.
right, so, next section here, we are, here with some school appearances specific to sportsmanship ejection plans of correction, so, we're gonna go in order, so first, we're gonna go Roosevelt, then McKay, and then we will go in alphabetical order after that with Grant. So if the representatives from Roosevelt could come forward and share your plans with us, please, and then just state your name for us, please. Thank you.
Yes. Good morning, family. My name is Willie Williams, Athletic Director of Roosevelt High School.
By yours.
Willie, we have the information that you sent in, so I think the thought is maybe just a very brief overview by you, and then questions.
So, family, first of all, I want to thank you all for, bringing this to our attention. We do know this is an issue, not just at Roosevelt, but just in sports in general, right? We want our student athletes to compete. We want our student athletes to have fun, but they have to do it in the rules of the game. And that's my plan as athletic director, to do it within the rules of the game. So our plan of correction at Roosevelt, I'm kind of gonna do a scenario. Right? We have a student, they get an ejection one night, the next morning, they get called to my office. They sit at my desk and we go over, I read the ejection report to the student athlete. After I read the ejection report, I ask the student athlete to tell me their story. Most of the time they say, well, that's exactly what happened. So I do appreciate that honesty right there. And that accountability. After we go over that, we go over our student athlete handbook. And we have a student athlete handbook, got created 2 years ago. Within this handbook, it talks about different expectations that we have for our student athletes to go over. 3 in particular, we talk about attendance, academics, and student conduct. If I could speak on attendance and academics first. I'm proud to say that last year, out of 17 programs at Roosevelt High School, 15 of those programs was on the all academic list. So that's a positive. Also, girls wrestling was actually number 1, with a 3.93 GPA. So again, the things that we emphasize the most are the things our kids work to. We have a problem with ejections, student conduct. So after we go over the handbook again, which by the way, preseason, we have our trials, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. On that Thursday, we conduct a parent coaching group. We've been having pretty good attendance with that, 300 plus people preseason. But that's a positive as well as over. So we go over that, the student athlete handbook with the parents, just briefly with the students as well. On that Friday, we have what we call the student athlete seminar. The student athlete seminar is when I get face to face with student athletes in our auditorium, and we go through the handbook step by step, detail by detail. So everyone is on the same page. I'm a former classroom teacher. This is my chance to get it from my athletes, my student athletes. I love it. This year we had 4 guest speakers. We had a Judge Michael Greenlick, and some other people, a couple people from University of Oregon as well. So again, we go over student athlete handbook, and to keep the kids, the student athletes accountable, we have them make sure they sign it. So the 4 things that you have to do before you participate in sports at Roosevelt, they sign a student athlete handbook, which parents get a copy of it on parent night, the night, day before. They gotta pay their fees, impact testing, and of course, they have to register for the sport. So those 4 things have to be in place before they must compete. That's 2 days after trial. Okay, so again, kid is in my office after they got an ejection the day before. We go over the student athlete handbook. That's me reinforcing my expectations to the kid. After that, I'll pull out the plan of correction. This is what we're gonna do because now you got ejected. Part of that plan of correction, of course, you all know that ejection comes with a fine. Okay, and that fine is paid through our student body fund. We don't want to charge the student athlete. We don't want to place them at a place that they have to pay money to the school. So the way they pay off this fine is by doing community service. And our community service is working in the concession stand on a busy night. Okay. Also, our student athletes is expected to write a letter to the official who was at the game and also the OSAA. Unfortunately, last week, we had a couple of ejections already. Therefore, a couple of letters we've already wrote and sent out. Community service is taking place tomorrow at a soccer game, okay? Along with that, they have to take the OSAA course, sportsmanship course. And lastly, which is a measure that we put in place this year, schools, they have to adhere to our school and self-imposed suspension, which is an additional 2 games. So 1 ejection at Roosevelt, you will be sitting out 3 games. However, you do have an opportunity to appeal the 2 games school self-imposed. And that would go through myself and the principal. But initially coming off, you have an automatic 3 game suspension. Also, I addressed my football team on Friday. I'm addressing my soccer team on today for practice. So after the ejection comes, that's another step that we do, restorative justice. I am addressing the team again. Keep in mind, I address everyone at the student athlete seminar. I address the parents. While the student is sitting at my desk, I'm calling the parents. Parents know exactly what's going on. Everything is transparent. So in 2022, we had like 14 ejections. Last year we had 6. This year so far we have 3.
14, 6, 5 last
Okay.
year, 3 this.
Thank you. 14, 6, 5, and 3 this year. This is nothing I'm proud of. However, we are placing accountability on the student. We did it in the classroom. It's showing through all academic programs. Now we're doing it for sure with student conduct. That's what I have for right now.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Any questions from the board? Yep.
Yeah, I just wanted to hear a little bit, Lily, about a lot about the student and the family, but where are the head coaches and the assistant coaches in this plan and program of reinforcing your message?
Appreciate that. So we have our coaching meeting. We have a coaching meeting monthly, in which we do professional development. And thanks to Mr. Chris Welch, he gave me some great details at the OSAA sportsmanship course last week, 2 weeks ago. During the coaching program, coaches meeting, I should say, we go over different ways that we could enhance student conduct. I have a wonderful coaching staff at Roosevelt High School. I could not do it without them. And I feel like they do have my back and I have theirs. My job as an AD is to pour into my coaches, so my coaches could pour into my student athletes. And again, we do it through our monthly meetings and talking to coaches every day. We're reinforcing this. We put a lot of pride behind attendance and academics. Now we also putting that pride behind student conduct. Yes.
Hey, Coach, number one, I really like how you started off with family and how you build culture. It seems to me like that was impressive. Yeah. Signage, messaging, visuals, reinforcement tools. branding, changing the culture? Like, what exactly are you doing so that people see it and feel it when they walk through your halls or walk through your school or walk through your facilities? What's going on with that?
Yes, and I'm glad you mentioned family. Being a classroom teacher, that's one way I always introduce my class. I feel like when you say family, people feel included. And family, you don't want to hurt your family, right? That's one message that I do talk to the team. This, of course, I tell my parents this as well. Wearing the black and gold is bigger than yourself. It's bigger than the school. It's St. John's community that you represent. And that's the message I try to get across. Branding wise, we do have signs, flyers around campus. Respect all, respect one, respect all. Rider Nation, Rider Pride, things of that nature. Something that we could do, we could put that signage to make it visible during games and activities. I like that idea as well. Yes, sir.
Really appreciate the school going above and beyond with the suspension. Is this the first year of that, extending the extension beyond the OSAA requirement, or how long have that been in place?
Great question. This was the first year. Last week was the first week. And we are already turning head. So that's exactly what I want to do. Not trying to fear no one, make them fearful. But at the same time, I do want the accountability to be on them and not the adults. Things happen in life, but you're only responsible for what the things that you could control. And a lot of our ejections are self-control. Deals with self-control. So that's what we're working on. I encourage my coaches to model the behavior that you want your student athletes to have. That's how I do as a parent.
Coach, I appreciate you coming and showing up here, and I just want to reiterate the fact of looking at your numbers, your ejections at 14 prior to you, and then where they're at with you in the last 2 years. And I appreciate your approach in your initiative and your rollout and your expectations that you're setting for your coaches and your kids the same. I just want to make sure, even though you have 3 this year, and not condoning the 3, continue to do what you're doing to stay the course. It may be a little bit of a daunting number to say we're in the second week of competitive sports for this season. But it eventually will stick. So I appreciate your effort and that you've made these last 2 years, and don't be discouraged by the 3.
I appreciate that. I know that things don't change overnight, but we have to be consistent and we have to be steady. We have to keep the ball high. The student will rise to whatever we place the ball at. I do believe in that.
So I just want to say one thing. I'm Debbie Hansen with the Officials Association. So I really like what you've had, and I'm going to be saying this a lot today to everyone that's here. One thing I would really encourage is some kind of relationship building between your local association of officials and your parents and your students and your coaches, whether it's all together, whether it's separately. One of the things that we're finding that is really helping with ejections is when there's communication between the officials and your parents, your coaches, your athletes pre-season. It's not too late now, but I would really reach out depending on the sports and what those issues are, because we're finding that it's really easy to be angry at an official when they're nameless and faceless, but when you have some kind of a relationship with somebody in that local association, it puts a different perspective on it. So I would just really encourage you, this is great. I would figure out some way to add that component in it, because I know a lot of the local associations really want to make that contact. I know for me personally, I would come happily and talk to any one of your groups just in terms of just what that looks like, better ways to handle it. And sometimes it just helps coming from an official's perspective. And it really can, we've seen it change programs. So I would just think about maybe adding that component somewhere in here.
Absolutely, absolutely. You will be hearing from me. Chris actually mentioned that in our course. So you'll be hearing from me for our upcoming parent sessions.
And Chris and I will always come, won't we?
Absolutely. Especially the Rider Nation.
All right. Thank you for that, and I think that's good advice as we go through all of this for all of you that are here present. So I think having a representative from associations to come in. So thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
After that, we will have grant. So board, we are on page 118 for, okay. No, we have it, so thank you. Oh, okay, good. I have notes.
You're good. Good to see you.
Hello.
I'm Chelsea Lockwood, assistant principal and athletic director at McKay High School. This is my 5th year in administration and 3rd year as the athletic director. Well, first I just want to acknowledge and take responsibility for our objections. We have 10, 20, 23, 24, and then 5 last year. And so we know that that's 5+ years in a row. And so we do recognize that there needs to be improvement in sportsmanship and across all of our programs and our athletic department as a whole. And so a few things that I've been doing since I started there. We have mandatory coaches meeting monthly. We do a pre-season retreat in August with all of our coaching staff, media managers, and boosters. And then I have regular check-ins and evaluations with my coaches at the beginning of the season, at the end of the season, and then we're talking throughout the entire season, daily. We have our athletes read the sportsmanship blurb at the beginning of every event. For football, we have a mic that's run down the field, and we have one of our team or our athletes read it. And then for other programs, they come up to the press box, which is the scoreboard. We have travel cards, behavior tracking that I work with our behavior specialists for our athletes when there is a behavior during the school day. We have a sports leadership class that we are revamping and in the process of rolling out again for 2nd semester or next year, because we had a change in staff. We have regular family meetings before every season, and then we have a banquet at the end of every season. And at these meetings, we go over the expectations, the handbook, and we talk about the importance of our sportsmanship and how we conduct ourselves at our games. We have incentives. So, right, for this year, if there are no objections within our entire program, I will get coaches gear for all of our coaching staff to help show them how important this is. And then coaches with multiple objections are required to attend the sportsmanship classes. Our students are actually charged the fee, so it goes on to, this is new, we started this last year. The student has to pay for the fee, but it goes to the ASB account until it's paid, and then the student, once they pay it, the ASB is reimbursed. I have a huge emphasis on team bonding and community building with our programs and our athletic department as a whole. Team dinners, McKay Day, we invite our middle schools to our games. If they wear jerseys, they get in for free. And then we have OSAA banners in all of our gym spaces, and we have them to go up in the stadium. We just haven't on us yet. And we do invite our officials to our coaches meetings, because we had a huge one in August. And so we've had wrestling and basketball show up. And then we've had a couple of officials that have come and run scrimmages with our basketball team, because we had a lot of objections in basketball previous year. And then we have a good relationship where we host a huge novice wrestling meet. And so we have a ton of officials that come in and run out and get to talk with our kids. If a coach is ejected, then we meet with myself and the coach meet, there's an apology letter, and then the coach will address the team, the family, and then I come in with them as well. And so I think that touches the most of the main points that I have in the action plan. But again, just thank you for having me here, and I do recognize that the ejections are an issue, and I'm hoping that next year I'll be able to be on the list that says injection-free school. That's our goal as a program, and I'm very committed to McKay and our athletics department and the future of all of our athletes.
Questions from the board?
Real fast for me, Chelsea, kind of like what Willie did 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year. Do we have that kind of information? Do you have that kind of information? How?
Yep. She, it was 10 in the 23, 24, and then 5.
When you, and I don't know how much we do this in terms of drilling down, do we get to which clubs, which teams, which athletes, which coaches, which whatever, and then you look at that and then you drill down into what do we need to do for that program? What do we do for that coach? Do we do that kind of stuff too?
Yes, I would say that the year that we had 10, it was soccer, football, and basketball, and then last year it was a smaller number in the same area. So it was football, basketball, and soccer. 1 in football compared to, I think it was 5, maybe 2 and 2 for. Oh, 2, okay.
Yeah.
And then,
And as you get that information, you also tailor the conversations or the accountability based on that sport and whatever it might be to improve.
yes, and we also had new coaches, new coaches. We had a turnover in coaching as well. That I think that does play a role in just making sure that we're having those conversations. And me being able to mentor and support and provide development or professional development for the head coaches so that they can also take that. And so with our coaches meeting, the first year I had it, it was only head coaches. And then I started inviting assistant coaches. So at all of our coaches meetings, it's the entire program that comes. I found that when it was just head coaches, a lot of times the information wasn't getting to the assistants like I thought it was. And so a way to change that was inviting everyone. And I've seen a change in just like the community and the communication and everyone being on board, maybe less mistakes or less hiccups that happen because everyone is on the same page.
All right.
So I've already said what I was going to say, so you heard it, but I also want to introduce you to our new executive director, Rob Grumsow, back here. And I was going to introduce him in a little bit, but he lives in your backyard. So please take advantage of him being in your backyard and maybe attending any of these meetings that you have, because he'd be a great resource.
All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next up, we're gonna go Grant, and after Grant will be Jefferson, please. We are now at 12 for the board.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Cody Hollenshed. I'm the athletic director at Grant High School. Just my 5th year at Grant as the 13th year in education role at 14. Former coach, former athlete, former kind of, I call myself fiery athlete. So this one kind of hits home here. First off, I'd like to apologize for, the behavior of our student athletes over the past couple of years. I believe we're at 9 Kelly last year.
6.
6?
It was 9 and 22, 23, 6 and 23, 24, and 6 and 24, 25.
So I've got my notes here. You guys have them here as well. We see some parent meetings, just discussing program philosophies, sportsmanship, how we act as parents, and then how we help act as students. Coaches outlining those behaviors as well. Our students, our fans, our youth programs are looking at our coaches. It starts with them. Our coaches acting like the fool on the sideline. Chance our players to do the same. Then I evaluate each coach at the end of each season and talk about our coaches with plans if we met them or if we need to how we can improve them. The problems arise before behavior. Kind of like what Willie did, I bring the kids in. So one thing I'm going to add this year, a lot of them are soccer. Even if you get 1 yellow card, I'm going to bring you in the next day and just talk to you about it and hopefully praise you that you didn't get the second one too. But just how we can change that behavior, be a little less reckless, and just model that good citizenship. Same thing if they do get ejected, I'm bringing them in. I like to get the film, especially if it's varsity. I like to look at it myself, so I know exactly what I'm looking at, and then I want to hear what they have to say. Our league does a good job of bringing in representatives from the official associations at each preseason meeting we have, so that head commissioner speaks to our coaches.
again, sometimes the attendance isn't greatest, and so, just my job then is to reiterate those, points of emphasis, from the officials association. We can't do this without them, and so, we need to build that relationship kind of like Debbie was talking about. I've got signage up, in my gym. Probably the two places it's lacking is, I'm sure you're all aware, my soccer team plays off campus. And I can't leave signs up at that place. I'm gonna try to get there a little earlier than on game days when I can and post them and put them down. Just, so when they walk in that gate, at least it's right in front of them on both ends. But they're in the gym. We do a sportsmanship announcement for, all of our home games. And so, what I'm gonna also implement is, sportsmanship specific classes, within our partnership with Positive Coaching Alliance, for our coaches and student athletes to reiterate the importance of respecting all aspects of the game. One thing I really don't want to do, I heard Chelsea say this, while it is a select few programs, I'm still having the same conversation with all of my programs. I've yet to see a volleyball player get kicked out, but I'm still having that conversation with them. So I'm putting my face in front of them, more than I did in the past couple of years, and just re-emphasizing, the importance of what it means to wear the grant logo, wear the G with the stars. All the people that came before them, wore it, and so we got to uphold that and uphold our history and traditions. I'm going to work to establish and communicate penalties more severe than one suspension, and fines for ejections. I haven't quite figured out a number yet, but I do think some of them are case by case basis, and so if I think it's something that is warranted more than one game, I'll have a discussion with their coach and that player. And then implement a standing discussion regarding our importance of sportsmanship and proper language to our coaches in monthly coaches meetings. We do those every month. Understanding being a former athlete, and I'm sure there's lots of former athletes out here. The game gets hot, it gets heated, but we've got to control what we can control, and first thing is ourselves. I was a baseball player, I can't be the umpire that's gonna call strike two balls off the place. I gotta make the adjustment, and I can't tell him that he's there. So that's the gist of my plan. Again, big thing is just my voice. I think sometimes our student athletes get a little stale of our coaches, and so implementing, I don't know how I think they see me as the authoritative figure in athletics at Grant. I know my boys soccer program was the first to get it, and I know one of my colleagues is back there did some plays, and I think it's stuck. So I'm gonna keep talking to them. Football, volleyball will get it too, basketball, and even baseball, softball. Just reiterating, just respecting the officials, respecting the opponent. We're all out, both trying to win. There's going to be one winner, one loser, no matter what. And so, accepting that outcome and wearing the grant logo with pride.
Thank you. I have a question. So you guys utilize PCA, Positive Coaching Alliance. You utilize these, you said you use it with your coaches, but they also work with students and parents. And I know sometimes that is kind of a two-headed, right? Parents and students kind of come together. You ever thought about utilizing?
Absolutely, absolutely. My plan is to have one in the winter. I've gone back and forth. This winter, I'm going to do an all sports winter meeting. Myself and my principal will stand in front of our parents and athletes once teams are made, give our spiel, and then have somebody from PCA come in and we talk to them, and then continue that moving forward. Great, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Odie.
Next up is Jefferson, and the board will be on page 114. Following Jefferson will be McDaniel.
Sorry, I find my glasses.
No worries.
I just got older anymore. Before Odie leaves, yeah, my son was terrified of Odie's.
He is seen as the authoritative figure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Odie said, I'm like, yeah, that's right. So I want to relay that. I can give testimony to that. Good morning. Donnie Seal, Jefferson High School PDX, if there's no Jefferson and that can get complicated. Been in education for 26 years. Coach, athlete, administrator, this is year 3 at Jefferson High School. Embarrassed and sad. That's how I feel as I was driving down here. You know, doing all the things that athletic directors do, multitasking here. You know, we're on this for the same thing, which is we want kids to be able to have great experience, we want them to get life lessons, we want them to be able to learn from those things as well as be successful. And when we have these breakdowns, it's mortifying. Honestly, I take it very personally. I'm thinking about that. You know, we control what we can control, but simultaneously we live in a world where there's only some things we control and other things we can't. I believe we try to impact things we can't control through systems and structures. PIL does a great job of having a lot of similar structures, and so you've heard from Lily as well as Odie. You know, we have a lot of very similar things in place because we're in the same league and in the same district. You know, so we have some structural things that are already in place, and those are in effect. Coaches meetings monthly. The whole district coaches meetings at the start of each sport, the officials being there. I mean, all those things are happening. Signage at all my fields, at all my games, the OSAA announcements, you know, all of those things that are in play. I can't speak to what it was like before I was there at Jefferson, but that's happening now. We've gone a long way in the time that I've been there. In the areas that we think are important. And I think that number one is I think we've come a long way with our sportsmanship stuff. We went from 16 injections to 5. And I'm hoping that we don't get to 5 again. That being said, all the structural things that are in play, the stuff that I've leaned in on is relational. I believe that relationships change the world. I think that, you know, structures help support those relationships. What relationships look like for me is, and I'm in my coach's ear all the time. All my coaches know I'm there and I'm present at all times when I'm doing the work. Structurally, to build relationships, I've leaned heavily in the PTA. So the last 2 years, we've had the positive coach. The last positive Pete, who always speaks at our PIL stuff. He's great. He's great with our community. He just fits in really well. And we've done a ton of stuff with him working with coaches, where I've done all head coaches where he's working with them, as well as with the kids too, with coaches there, because you can't separate them out completely. I think you have to have some messages for your coaches and you have to have some messages for your kids. But man, we're all bundled together. And so like we just had one last week where PCA Pete came and talked to our football staff and kids, because that's part of what we do. We did it last year. I did it with basketball. This year I have it in my plan. I talked about some of the things we're going to be doing with PCA, and that's just kind of the structural piece that I've built in. It's working. It's starting the conversation around who do we want to be? What does that look like? And how does that manifest as we walk through the world? You know, rule 1 of all of this stuff is don't embarrass the family. And when we have an infection, I find that embarrassing. And there's lots of reasons why, and you can unpack all those for those individual situations, and there's always a different story. But at the end of the day, you know, as Odie said, you control what you control. And that's the conversation we'll have with the student athletes there at Jefferson School. Yeah, my plan's there. Any specific questions?
From the board, again, I appreciate the information about what you are doing with that positive coaches line. I think that is a tool everyone can continue to use over the next set. So any other questions from the board?
Just gonna repeat myself again. Don, I know each other well. Relationship piece. We want to really include the officials in that relationship piece because it will make a difference too.
100%. We had volleyball officials 2 weeks ago doing their thing, which was super cool.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Hey, appreciate y'all. Appreciate it.
Right, next we'll have McDaniel and then followed by Redmond, again for the board run now, page 116.
Good morning. Hi, my name is Tyler Kelleher. I am the athletic director at McDaniel High School. Actually, it's my 9th year, actually 5 at Madison, 4 at McDaniel. And my 13th year overall. I can say this is the first time I've had to be here in 13 years and it doesn't feel great. We saw a huge uptick in ejections last year. I think we had 12. I think before, is that right, Kelly? And I think the year before that we had 8. But prior to those 2 years, I did not have to attend the sportsmanship class, so I know we had a couple here and there, but definitely not high numbers, so it's very concerning to see that uptick. I believe the 3 sports that they routinely kind of happen are football, boys soccer, and then baseball last year. As my colleague said, a lot of it starts with the preseason meetings with coaches and parents that we have, and just addressing the importance of sportsmanship and what it means to be now not a Madison Center, but a McDaniel Mountain Line, and how there's always a lot of, I think, preconceived notions of school off Northeast 82nd, and how my coaches and kids are always trying to represent our school, community, athletic department in the highest light possible. When a kid does get an injection, I meet with them personally. I meet with the head coach. We come up with a plan moving forward and how that behavior, will not continue. I think last year I imposed another suspension on one of our boys soccer players because he was ejected. And then that first game back, I think he was ejected again. And then so I suspended him for another 2 games. I think that really got the attention of the other teams. We do a lot of work with Positive Coaching Alliance. We really target our freshmen, our freshman leaders. So Positive Coaching Alliance will come in and they will have workshops with our freshman leaders, so they get that starting into young age, so then they can, as they move on from sophomore to junior to senior year, have that training. I have monthly coaches meetings where I communicate, how important sportsmanship is and how important it is to us as, leaders in McDaniel High School. And how we always, like I said, represent, our athletes are representing our community in the highest fashion. We have made some coaching changes to a couple sports this last year, which I think we will see the dividends pay off as the year goes on. That was something that we definitely, my principal and I reviewed those ejections, reviewed our coaching staff, and like I said, made some decisions moving forward that some of these individuals are no longer with us. And that has been a sticking point at all my coaches meetings and just my daily communication with my head coaches and or assistants. I know that a lot of times now we don't have coaches that are in the building. They don't have that educational background. So we kind of go above and beyond in making sure they understand what it means to be a coach. I know that I've seen a change in that model where a lot of coaches were in the building and they had that educational background and that training, and we've seen a shift for out of the building coaches. And so we've made a very strong point of emphasis to reach all those assistant coaches, not just the head coaches. You can't just trust the head coach to communicate down to the assistants. So we do that as well. We have opened up our coaches meetings to assistant coaches if they can make it. But yeah, like I said, the 12 ejections was extremely alarming, and we have a new policy in place that if there is any ejection between coach and kid, they will not only meet with me, but then meet with my principal, and then we will determine if there is a further suspension warranted for that. We do try to work very hard with the officials. I know I've been on the phone with Debbie quite a bit over the years and just having those conversations. And it's there's no excuses. We have a lot of kids who are dealing with a lot of things, like everyone has, and we really try to put in the work, and things happen and we address them. And we need to be better, because 12 there's no excuse for that many ejections. You guys have my plan. I don't know if there's any other questions. I know my colleagues talked about signage and stuff, and we have those up, working, getting more signage up and the sportsmanship announcements, and yeah. Questions?
Well, we thank you for timing the plan, so.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Next up, we'll have Redmond Board, that's on page 124, and after Redmond, we'll go South Medford and then the house.
Good morning, Casey McCarthy, Redmond High School. This is my second year at Redmond High School. When I showed up at Redmond, I needed to write a plan of correction. We had 7 ejections last year. We had 4, reduction in 42%. This is something that I've done before. When I took over as athletic director of Eagle Point High School, I'd write a plan of correction. In 4 years, we were a ejection-free school. We are a STAR program. We just initiated that last year. I do fall parent meeting. I do a head coaches, or not head coaches, I do all coaching staff meeting in the fall, do one in the winter, do one in the spring. I'm in touch with the coaches, weekly, daily, I'm out on the practices. One of the sayings that I have is what you permit, you promote. So when I go out and see smack talk on our soccer field, I'm talking to those athletes, I'm showing up, I'm almost at every home game for all sports. If I see something going on, our soccer team got to jabbering last week. At the end of the game, I had a little talk with them because that's where most of this is an issue is within our soccer programs. Those kids are out there talking, lots of field for them to be talking, and things escalate and pretty soon that's a red card. We have signage up, we do the public address announcements. Manager, game management is instructed on what to do, to interrupt if there are things going on, as well as I'm not afraid to interrupt the play if those things are happening. What else? Yeah, the parent, we're fining the students, so we fine them $50. We don't make that incremental, so the next kid has to pay $100, but I'm talking to them. If they are ejected, I'm talking to them, coming up with solutions, how to better handle the situation. And communicating with their parents. So I did that at the fall parent meeting. Last year, I put it into place where the kids were paying the fines. I did not have that in our handbook, so I needed to go back and put that in our handbook, but it is now. We're making progress and addressing the situations.
Any questions from the board?
I didn't see anything involving your officials associations. Is there anything that you do in relationship with them?
Besides basketball, we have all the entire officials association fill up. We have scrimmages and they show up and they have a good relationship. And our Central Oregon East Conference, we meet with all the officials, so we do know them. I'm out there at every game, introduce myself. They know who I am.
We don't, I wouldn't just limit myself to the Portland area, even though I live here. I'd be happy to come to Central Oregon and speak to any of your groups.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Right, next, so Medford for the board, that's on page 127. Our packet.
Good morning, everybody. Patrick Grady. It's my 8th year as athletic director, 2nd at South, 26 year in education, and longtime coach. When I took over the program, I inherited a season of 25 ejections. We had a nasty altercation at a playoff football game. My predecessor was putting plans in place with the coaches. They actually taught sideline behavior and how not to enter and how to enter the field, and that was a huge improvement. If we took that one situation, that one event aside, they were still at 8 ejections for that year, so still work to be done. Last year we had 5. Unfortunately, 2 of those 5 were coaches. Those 2 coaches are no longer with our program. I tried working with them throughout the season to build them up, giving them resources, ways to conduct themselves, and just they weren't willing to take. And so we had to make that move, which is for the kids as well. We're working on the signage, updating everything, plan to petition and take care of the paperwork and recommendations to become a star school as well. We had individual meetings in the past for individual seasons. I wanted to get everybody together so that it was more of a relationship, more of a family, as was talked before. So our fall meeting was about 4 hours of us together talking about who we are, what do we stand for, what do we want our programs to be known as, how are we on the field or the court, how are we when we're in the lobby of a hotel, how are we on the bus, how are we on campus, etc. Because of COVID, a lot of us had kids that were disconnected, and finally kind of getting them back together. my principal last year asked me to do even more with trying to build up more camaraderie between programs. We didn't have a student athlete leadership team, so I started our character council last year with about 30 students. Hope to get that up to 50 or 60 this year, where we're going about and going to events to support each other, to show that I'm not, because I'm a football player, I can't go and support girls soccer or vice versa. Same for the band. We all know the band is at everything. Why aren't our kids at band there and supporting? So we're building those pieces, giving back to our community through community service works, whether it's raising money for breast cancer, during football season, during volleyball season, giving back to kids in the community, really building some of that structure in place, and hopefully that'll have more pride for kids who want to be a South Metro Panther. As far as officials go, I am working closely with a lot of our organizations, obviously with officials associated with appreciation nights. I started that when I was in Ashland, and not a single official ever wants to talk, which is great. But it's that humanizing factor for the fans and for the players to recognize, you know, hey, tonight we have John, he's going to be center lead. He's an official because he loves the game. Watch his kids grow up, they're all gone, and he still wants to be able to give back the sport they love. And just those little bits and pieces pay the dividends. So definitely hearing that message loud and clear to keep that going. So we will continue absolutely for that as well. And then it's the reteaching moments, working with kids. We had a rough athlete last year with football. Had a real hard time figuring things out, how to behave, and had to lay that down. And unfortunately, we had the parent that was also backing that student athlete, thinking that we were causing all the harm, and really trying to work with that family. That student was a senior, so they have moved on, but that message is still being loud clear for the football program as well. Continue to work with coaches. As we know, we have a ton of coaches that are off campus. So really trying to get those pieces together so that it is an education-based program, and really helping those coaches out with their start with how do you manage everything. We know the X's and O's, but we don't necessarily know how to talk to parents or understand the importance of dealing with communication over and over and over again, if we have as clear as we can. So constantly working with the staff in that regard, and hopefully it's not a revolving door, that we're working to keep coaches that want to be around instead of just a one and done, or I'm here because my kid's here, and then they leave. We really want to be there because of the love of the sport. So I think all of those pieces collectively, we're going to see a huge improvement, hopefully, at South Medford.
Any questions from the board?
Comment is, thank you for giving off-campus coaches.
Absolutely.
I know it's a concern or area that we all address across the state. And I think the non-school based coaches that carry it over, and I think bringing them into the school.
Yeah, we started the professional development with the coaches. I get everybody the book Inside Out. Joe Ehrman started some book talks with that, give them little snippets here and there. I use a lot of those same questions. Why do you coach? Why do you coach the way you coach, et cetera? When I do my interviews, how do you define success, et cetera? And so we'll continue that. I'd like to do what drives winning with Ledbetter as well. So just constantly building and growing. And then I have a nice little library. Everything Bruce Brown you can imagine, I have access for everybody as well too. So lots of resources for people who are not only off campus, but on campus as well.
Since we're on that topic, which I love everything that you're doing. Today, Jamie and I were having a conversation at breakfast about the culture of volleyball, or the way games are managed at volleyball. You rarely see suspensions, you rarely see misconduct. And there was a little bit of like, what can we do from volleyball that you could replicate in other locations that have spectator sports or team sports, because somehow their officials want to keep being officials, and it's just a really good culture or a really good process there for volleyball. So I don't know, but we were talking about just the systems or the culture or the context of that sport in general, and how it's well ran or positive.
I think a lot of it is because those kids play against each other a lot with club, not that they don't with soccer. So I think that there's something definitely unique there. One of the things that I noticed first time when I first started with athletics was a volleyball coach who, for their senior night, thanked the other team and recognized their seniors first. And I thought that was really special. And so at that point, I was like, we're doing this for all sports. You know, we want to quickly just, hey, thank all the kids who are out here. And so we're carrying that over as well. And I had some resistance. I had a coach go, why would you spend time doing that for that team? Well, why wouldn't we? Right? Like, we're building relationships. We're trying to keep this positive for everybody. We want all of our kids under the balloons and everything else that we have, right? To recognize them. We can take 2 minutes to recognize another school. So continue to do that too.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. One recommendation, if we could take a look at who travels the furthest in our pecking order instead of alphabetical. Just kidding. Okay.
And we are on page 128 for the board.
Thanks, Jim.
Well, I'm Jim Taylor, first year official AD at the Dallas High School. I've been teaching there and being students and coaching for 22 years. And I was at Roseburg 5 years before that. So 21 years, it's my 22nd. Last year I was asked to be by our principal, the interim AD. And why our AD was on leave. And we had an altercation with JV2 basketball team and campus coach at Goldendale, Washington. And the secretary asked if I wanted to find the programs, the basketball program for getting the fine from the OSAA, and I said no. I asked the question to my principal, what are we doing to help this coach? What are we doing to help these coaches? And no one really had an answer, so I called the office here, and Missy and Chris were all over it and said, well, come, we'll help you out. And so I got the superintendent and principal's okay, and Missy and Chris came out on March 3rd. They met with all of our coaches for about an hour and did a short little presentation on sportsmanship, how to handle yourself. And they also met with about 40 plus of our athletes. And it was a good way of starting. And then they said something about having core values. So I got the okay from the principal and the superintendent, and I got a bunch of those kids and coaches that were at the meeting, and we came up with our core values that I think I shared with you guys. And when I got the job as assistant principal and AD in July, and the first thing that we did was formalize the core values. Coaches meeting in August. I introduced those core values to all the coaches. I'd already sent it out to them. And then we had a parent meeting, a fall parent meeting, and we had the core values there. And that's basically what we're kind of running everything on as core values. And the coaches have been and I had coaches and students as part of that core value system that we set up. And I get a lot of buy-in. Our biggest problem is our boys soccer program. And last week at North Marion came to our place, and there was just before half, there was a hard foul on a North Marion player. Our player got up and, they wanted to bump chests and stuff, and things got a little chippy. Thank goodness we had very strong officials. They stepped in immediately. Our coaches did a great job of controlling the situation. I told the coaches afterwards, thank you very much. That made me feel really good, because we just had a few yellow cards instead of red cards in that situation. And then our football program went to Malala last Friday, and Malala had multiple unsportsmanlike penalties, and we were beating them, and they were not acting very well. And our boys did not react to it. Our coaches handled it well, the officials handled it well. I was very pleased with everything. Student leaders from Malala came and apologized to the head coach and myself afterwards about some of their student bodies behavior. So I feel like that we're making good progress on the core values. I think it's really helping change the culture and the idea of what it is to be a student athlete at Dallas High School.
Questions, any questions on the board?
Yeah, I just appreciate the work that you put in. I know we had some conversations last year, and even though you were interim, you wanted to jump right on it. That's glad that you can see the person.
Yeah, I was, it was a situation I just felt like we weren't getting anywhere on, so.
Note is we need to go on a Tuesday next year because Spooky's Pizza Place is not open. Just saying.
Spooky.
If you have like a pin around the state, where.
I found that out on last, March 3rd.
Yeah, my pizza.
Thanks.
I just want to go on record, you scheduled the meeting next Monday.
I did, and I thought of that too.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna shift a little bit, so if you, can we jump please to page 135 for school violations? We do have a couple people here to appeal, so again, I'm sorry, you're up here, all that. So here, so Kyle, anything from you as a starting point?
No, so these two schools, Holy Christian and Silverton, are coming to the fact that they had student athletes not participate in the track and field state championship, and they qualified. They're here just because the mandatory appearance is related to the fine and penalty of the infraction.
Yeah, so we're gonna start for the Christian. Sure. Eric, you want to?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Name's Eric Lislow, athletic director of Portland Christian. Been there for 2 years, worked for the Timbers for 13 years, Blazers for another 9 before that. So I completely get what you guys all do and appreciate you. Also a head coach, so I'm not one to make excuses. We had a dual sport athlete who was participating on our baseball team, top baseball player. Our baseball team made the playoffs for the first time in 10-15 years. Also qualified for the state track meet in hurdles. Ran his first prelim or whatever down in Eugene. As that was going on, our baseball team as a 19 seed somehow wins 3 games, all on the road, Eastern Oregon, down the coast, and then we had a game down at Reedsport. I was not aware of the rule, and again, there's no excuse for that. I'm a new AD. I haven't been around the high school AD world much, but I was not aware of the missing or scratching from an event, especially at state. My track coach, who's been there for 25 plus years, was not aware of that as well, which I find hard to believe, to be honest. So as Debbie will tell you, we're a big part of the 1A, 2A track world. We do a lot of stuff, host a lot of meets for a lot of different people, but quite frankly, it's embarrassing to be here, being that we're sort of at the forefront of the track and field world, with the smaller school situation. And I need to know that rule. I'm still shocked my coach didn't know that rule. Again, it was one of those things where he participated on, I believe, Wednesday. Again, our baseball team goes on this miracle run. He's our best baseball player. He's our top pitcher. And then you end up having a conflict where he's got a 7:30 game down in Reedsport, and he's supposed to run in Eugene at 5:30. Just not going to happen. So he had to scratch. I completely get why you guys have that rule in place. I can tell you there was no bad intentions there. It was just kind of a perfect storm, but it's a bad look for us. And again, as a coach, I'm not wanting to make excuses. So we own it. I'm not appealing anything. And I feel super bad for somebody who did not get to participate because of that. So we have to do a better job, for sure. So my apologies to you and to anybody else that was affected, sure. But we own it, for sure.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for owning it.
Thanks, sir.
Yep.
Next up, Silverton.
And,
Good morning. Andy Jones, athletic director of Silverton. Did I don't think we have two?
you did not.
Okay, I just.
Or you want to?
No,
I think. We represent
okay, so, we had, a young lady, we had to scratch for the state track meet. We were not appealing the fine, however, I don't think I would do my district or school, I would be doing a disservice if I didn't kind of talk about what happened and why we're here today. So, our district track meet was held at Silverton on a Wednesday and a Friday. She, based on her mark in the pole vault, she was an at-large candidate to go to the state meet. She was also going to be a camp counselor the next week, at outdoor school, but we communicated with parents, reassured that there was not going to be any issues. She was going to be able to make it back. Parents were going to go pick her up from outdoor camp, and that she would be ready to get on the bus on Thursday, when the team went down. Everything looked pretty good, until about Monday, Tuesday. Parents quit communicating with us. We had no idea what was going on. Outdoor camp didn't have any phone. We put in some other safeguards. I was gonna take a Type 20, the small bus, and run her down if we needed to. And then on Thursday, parents said, nope, she's not going to the state track meet. So then that's when we had pulled her. It didn't affect anybody because she was an at-large person, so it didn't keep anybody out of the state meet. But, you know, as you are all administrators, I am more than open on how we could handle that better. Because if a parent says, no, they're not going, I don't know what more we can do, and other than just go to the house and pick her up while the parents are gone to take her down. But, it was a tough situation. We don't like to be here, but we are. We will do what is the right thing to do. Questions? Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Andy.
Am I down?
You want it?
Good one.
Ah.
Good one.
And I'm just gonna say this, so, because we are going to finish report, let's be cognizant of our time, because we do have a meeting right behind us for classification, so. Let's think in, we are going, but clear, we wanna make sure you can convey information. So we are back to the organizing conflict. Thanks for letting us move things around a little bit.
No problem. I usually am a little short. Stature. I want to thank Anna Maria Lopez. This is her final year, in a rotation on the board. Really appreciate her service. She is, the best of the best on our board. She takes over this year as past president, who's in charge of all of our awards and projects. We're lucky to have her. We have 3 new board members out of our group of 18. KT Emerson comes on as the OEDA secretary for this year. She's over at Valley Catholic. Brad Dutton takes over for Steve Waller, who served 2 terms as our 1A rep. He's over at Powder Valley. So we're excited to bring Brad on and school him up a little bit. And Darren Tryock is done as our 4A rep. He was done just a little bit early. So we appointed Rick Gardner from Marist as our 4A rep. Everybody else is the same. We are really happy to continue to partner with Final Forms. I was able to bring them into the Middle Pine School District as part of what I did this last year, filling in as an interim. And the feedback is really great in terms of our registration system. They continue to help us. Rob talked about what they're going to do to hopefully increase the number of coach registrations. So we're really happy to have them on board, our membership has grown. We do have 62 new ADs, and that is not just necessarily raw ADs, but new in a school. And so that's 21, again, 21% every year is between 21 and 25. I was astounded to hear the number from Gustavo about over 96% turnover in superintendents in 6 years. Unbelievable number. And so we know we have those issues. We are really ramping up our mentoring. Tim Burke, who used to be at Newburgh, is now our mentor coordinator and is doing a great job. We are pairing people with either retired or seasoned ADs and trying to school people up. As I sit here and watch some of the people appeal or testify or give stories about what's going on, it just becomes apparent how important that mentorship piece is. Our 57th OADA State Conference will take place in April in Sun River. That is a phenomenal professional development opportunity. We encourage every AD to get there and also take classes and participate in the workshops. Rob Miller from the practice coaching will be there as our keynote and do some workshops. And then we're still developing the rest of it. Jessica Russell from Benson is our conference coordinator, so she's putting all the workshops and everything together. Tim Sam is on his way back today, should get back from Indianapolis. He's our state LTI coordinator, or Leadership Training Institute coordinator. He's nudging people. We have 23% of our AD population that has some certification. Some of them are CAAs and CMAAs. We consider that like national board certification. So at some point in the next year or two, I really would love to, it's a tough time to get the legislature up, but we need to recognize these ADs for stepping up and getting certified above and beyond what they need for an administrative and teaching license. So that's important. Anna Maria will coordinate our 2026 awards and scholarships. I already said that. Our national conference is in Tampa this year in December. Maybe about when we have our next executive board membership here or meeting here. And then Mike Henderson has taken over for Bill Bowers as our Hall of Fame coordinator. Our selection committee includes Rob Holstrom, Bill Bowers, Cindy Simmons, Marianne Mills, Mike Began, Liz Schultz, and Lloyd Yorquist. They will select our next nominees for our Hall of Fame. Well, that's it.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks. And having a new AD that I had a quick conversation the other day at a football game, that mentorship is a really good program. So thank you for doing that. All right, next we're going to have official association, Rob and Ray.
It is my privilege to introduce those who have not met him yet. Our new executive director, Rob Grimm. So I'm going to start with him and then I'll add a few things.
Good morning, everybody. Started August 1st. We hit the ground running, so to speak. A couple things that we're going to work on in the next year is the sportsmanship component and how as officials we can help OSAA with recognizing schools for their good sportsmanship. So we want to get back into that and making sure that that is really a key point of the athletic event, whatever it is. And then the communication and how we communicate as officials to coaches to ADs. I had a question last night. One of my officials said, I never get a call back from an AD. Because we tell them to call and verify with the ADs that their game is, their match is on that day or game. And I say, just leave a message because they're busy. And tell them if there's a problem, call me back, but I don't want to hear from you. So, and then the mentoring ship and how we mentor both the student athlete on the field, because it is an extension of the classroom, and how as coaches and officials, we can work together to mentor the players on the field, whether it's having a brief second between plays to talk to them a little bit about how they're going about their behavior on the field, or going to a captain and saying, hey, captain, I need you to step up here and take care of your player over here so that we can keep them on the field, whether it's the pitch or the football field or those volleyball people. Okay, wait, nobody gets ejected in volleyball?
No,
Not yet.
Rachel, boys.
It's gonna change the voice.
So the captains and volleyball are doing a great job. So those are some of the things that we're gonna strive to work on in the next year. The other thing that we're looking at is a program called Ref Reps. Some of you may or may not know about it, but it's through the high school association for officials. So what we're looking at is to figure out how to get the same training across the board so that we are delivering the same message. One whistle, one mechanics, one interpretation of the rule from here to Jordan Valley to down to the South Coast. So that when teams come from other areas, they're getting the same game and the same expectations. Because that will help settle some of that stuff down. As if you go to, you go from here to Hood River or to the Dalles and you're getting officiated the same game, that makes it easier for coaches. And we know the same mechanics are there. So those are some of the things that we're working on. Debbie?
Yeah, to add with the Ref Reps piece, we thank the OSAA for partnering with them to make it a cheaper process for our schools. But we also and really want to encourage them to be part somehow in the AD conference in April. We'd really like to see them have some kind of platform there to speak. Our understanding with our meeting that we just had, there's 11 schools in Oregon that are 10 or 11 schools in Oregon that are using their curriculum this year for officiating, and it's a huge benefit to those schools because their kids are going through this program as a curriculum. And then part of that curriculum is they're officiating at the youth and the middle schools for them. And it's a win-win for the schools and it's a win for us as well. We just want to keep promoting it as a program, but also promote it with our own officials and our commissioners to get involved and use it as a resource. Because it has been really hard to get high schoolers or going into college to be interested in officiating. This is going to be a real plus for us. The other thing, and one of the things we really want to encourage athletic directors and coaches to understand, it makes for a better student athlete. When they've officiated, they understand the game better. And where we're seeing this is in boys volleyball. I know this year in the GPVOA in Portland, we have 3 or 4, I think, boys that came out of boys volleyball that are officiating. And it is amazing how many of them are fooling people to think they are very, very experienced and much older than 17 years of age. I worked with one the other night that no one there had any idea that he was 17, outstanding official already, understands the game and is ahead of a lot of the adults that are starting. So we want to see that same thing come out of the Ref Reps program. So we're really going to be pushing that. We really do hope they get some kind of platform at the AD conference. The NFHS Officials Appreciation Week for fall sports is October 5th through 11th. I want to thank Missy and Chris for promoting that with all the athletic directors at their conference, but we would like just to have that as on everybody's radar as much as we can. That's coming up, something that can be done. I want to reiterate what Rob said earlier. I had a great time at Corbett. I was so thankful that we got that opportunity. We got to speak to all their coaches. Again, please, I didn't know how to, without keep repeating myself, but we would love to come to schools and do that. I had an opportunity to have a long conversation with a coach out there and the athletic director said, yep, this is my problem, coach. But I felt like our conversation was very valuable on a side note. But we really want to do that. We just really think that relationship is the best thing we can do in being present. And I know Rob and I are both more than willing to assist in any way we can to do that. Outside of that, as you said, we're really going to work to promote again the sportsmanship program that we started that kind of fell a little bit by the wayside, but we want to get momentum going with that. We're actually meeting with Kelly and Melissa on that, hopefully today. And I think that's everything unless you have something for us. The only thing I don't know is numbers. Are we up?
Okay, we're about where we're.
Okay. Thank you.
Sports Medicine Advisory Committee.
Yeah, the no real report there. We meet with them tomorrow night as we traditionally do in September. So we'll be with that group tomorrow night down in Salem. Again, we'll talk a little bit about the concussion management that we really adjusted today. And we also have a meeting coming up in the first part of October, working with KSI and that group. Teaming up for sports safety, bringing in some groups and medical people from the country and stuff, and we'll be working on that as well, but more to report in the future.
Perfect. Classification districting committee, that is Pete and Kyle, and that's on page 93 for the board.
So we just put in there for the classification and districting committee, the update from their first public meeting. The second public meeting will take place in about an hour in this room. But you see, they did put out a 5 classification proposal. They also put out a 6 classification proposal. We've gotten some feedback from people, and we'll hear testimony today. And anticipate putting out more proposals coming out of this meeting. They'll meet again at the following the delegate assembly meeting at the start of October, and have several more meetings scheduled prior to our December 15th meeting, where we meet with the board and the delegate assembly that day and make final decisions based on their recommendations. Happy to answer any questions on that.
All right. Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Advisory Committee, again on page 99.
Yeah, this is just the kind of final version of the toolkit we brought to you this summer after the work, the collaboration between COSA and us. We took some of the suggestions, things we got back from our DEI committee as well, made some updates. Again, this is kind of a living document. So as people use it, come across or create tools in your schools, we'd love to be able to build on this and include more of those resources. We briefly reviewed it on the superintendent's call a couple weeks ago, and he and I will be presenting it at COSA later this month. We'll share it with the school and launch it.
Transfer eligibility task force, anything more to add?
We will be meeting on the 20th,
Which day was that?
Wednesday, the 24th.
Perfect. Missy, Student Advisory Council.
Yeah.
Board 108.
Yeah, I'll be quick. We were able to take the students away to Camp Cedar Ridge for a 2-night overnight. Some of our staff members were able to join, so we had a great way to connect with multiple staff members here at the office. So I think that's great. But the biggest thing where the kids are really feeling comfortable. Zoom last night was completely different. We're also at it in a hybrid model once a month. So we're doing two meetings a month, and one is hybrid, so that those that are close can get in person. So the kids took off to go have ice cream afterwards together last week. So definitely headed in the right direction. So excited about that. They will also be working on a lot of the charges that we have in the focus for this year on the captain's camp and the National Girls and Women's Sports Day brunch and the Playmakers Summit. So excited to get them involved. They also are doing a monthly outreach. That just went out today. It's really based on what the month is. So this month is suicide prevention. We have resources, and they're putting that together. We're just cleaning up in our office and then getting it out for them next month's breast cancer awareness. So they're really taking those months and giving ADs and coaches a way that they can get involved. So really excited about the momentum that's going. And the goal is to keep it moving forward.
Any questions for Ms. Urruti? All right, OSAA Foundation, Peter.
Yep. So again, foundation kicking off another year. Actually, last week we did our first student assistance program shop event over at Dick's Sporting Goods. Over 100 students went and shopped for staff heavily involved in that. We're getting ready to box that stuff up and get that out to people this week. Our cross country track and field grant information is out as well. Working with Kyle on getting those things finalized. We're just looking forward to another great year with the foundation.
Awesome, great pictures online too.
Yeah.
Mississippi Fall Administration workshops.
They were a success. We had everyone in attendance, and we are, we're just kind of visiting and looking at some ways to make it more meaningful and maybe more attended going forward.
Perfect. Chris Association membership, which is on page 109.
Yeah, first of all, if Debbie would have asked me 5 minutes earlier, I would be able to get her the numbers. So football's down 7 from last year, soccer is up 30 officials from last year, and volleyball's down 3 from last year. So our numbers are fairly steady. Soccer is going on an uphill climb, which is good. As far as the association members, this is just our right now what we have at this time. There's 111. Last year we locked the year out at 126. And then I also have the next one in front of you is the non-soccer sponsored, the schools that are ejection free. You see there, some of those, the numbers by there to the right of them are the number of years that they have been ejection free. So kudos to those schools that have been ejection free last year and in years past.
Shout out to Central Christian High School, 20 years, that's impressive. Yeah. Pretty impressive. All right. Where are we?
Back page. Teacher meeting. School violation.
School violations, so we are back to page.
Last page, probably.
So again, you have the school violation chart there in front of you. Number 6, again, we heard it, the 2 appeals last night and took care of those. The rest of them are not being appealed, but we do need action to approve the recommended penalty.
By Matt. Second by Jamie. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Peter, get your names and information.
Just a reminder, I mentioned a second ago, Delegate Assembly, October 6th, across the way at the Holiday Inn. Again, we'll do a meeting as a board, morning and work session. And then again, December 15th, for the board and delegate assembly making final decisions based on the recommendations for classification and districting, et cetera, and then the meetings throughout the rest of the year. That's what we have coming up.
All right. With that, here.